How's it going, everyone? I hope you're having a great day because today we have a story of the worst neighbors ever. Do you think you have bad neighbors? Do you think that you know someone who has bad neighbors? Wrong. These are the worst neighbors ever. So sit back, relax, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and we're calling the subscriber who submitted this story Sophia. So anyways, right, this happened a couple years ago. Sophia and her mom and her dad lived on this neighborhood, and the house next to them, it was always going for sale. It always seemed like whenever someone would buy the house, they would immediately try and flip it, as it was actually quite a nice house. Sophia's house was pretty normal. She lived pretty normally, but the house next to her was like an extremely nice house. No one totally knows why that house happened to be there in their neighborhood, but, no complaints. It looks nice, whatever. And it just seemed like they never really had neighbors. So one day, right, Sophia's mom said, hey, someone bought the house a couple weeks ago, and it really does look like they're moving in. We might actually have neighbors for the first time in years. So Sophia and her parents were like, oh, that's pretty cool. We'll make sure to be very, courteous to our new neighbors and, ask them if they need help moving in, maybe invite them over, something like that. So about a week later, there's a moving van, and there's a bunch of people moving boxes into the house. It seems like the neighbors purchased the service where people would come and move the stuff in for them, or at least move the boxes in. Moving's hard, totally understandable. So then Sophia and Sophia's mom are like, you know what, maybe tonight when all the moving is done and all the dust is settled, let's do it tomorrow. Tomorrow night, when all the dust is settled, you and I will go over there and we will, knock on the door and we'll just ask them if anything's how everything's going, and then invite them over to dinner, tomorrow night. We'll have them over and it'll be great. So anyways, next day, or at least the next day's night, Sophia and her mom, they walk over to the house, they knock on the door, and there's no response. There is a car in the driveway, though, so Sophia and Sophia's mom are like, okay, well, maybe we'll knock a little bit louder. So they knock a little bit louder, and that's when they hear kind of like a door open, and then footsteps, and then the door handle or the doorknob turns, it opens, and they're greeted by someone who can't be more than 18, 19 years old, so a teenager, right? And Sophia's like, hi there, and Sophia's mom's like, hi, we're your next door neighbors. We just wanted to know, how's everything going? And the teenager was actually, she's nice. She's like, hey guys, thank you so much for coming over and saying hello. My name is, Audrey. It's so great to see you guys. My parents aren't here. They're busy. They're always traveling the world doing stuff. They both have pretty intense jobs. So I don't think that they're not gonna be back for a while. Sophia's mom's like, oh, well, that's too bad. I was going to invite all of you guys over for dinner tomorrow night, but maybe if it's just you, if you'd like to come over, it's an open invitation. And Audrey, the teenager who lived next door, was like, I really do appreciate that, but I already have plans. But thank you guys so much for coming over. You guys seem like great neighbors. I was a little nervous, so yeah, I'm excited for you guys to be my neighbors. And I hope everything is good. And with that, Audrey shuts the door. And Sophia and Sophia's mom kind of look at each other like, okay, well, that's fine. Now we don't have to host anyone tomorrow. And we also offered up the invitation, so we are good neighbors. So Sophia and Sophia's mom really think nothing of this. They think, well, this seems like a nice enough girl. And it seems like the neighbors aren't even going to be there a lot, which is kind of a good catch. Because, if they're not there, how bad can they be? Here's the problem in that statement, if you were paying attention. Audrey's, the neighbor girl, parents aren't going to be there often. That doesn't mean she's not going to be there often. And when a 19, 20-year-old has a massive, really fancy house to themselves, and their parents aren't there often, that's actually probably going to be the opposite of good neighbors. Just a little suggestion. So anyways, about a week passes and it's nighttime. It's 9 o'clock. Sophia and her parents are watching a movie together, and that's when they start to hear music. And they start to hear the very, kind of the very faint hum of music. It's a little familiar, but you just can't put your finger on it. It's oh, I've probably heard that song on the radio a million times, but it's not clear enough for me to hear it. So Sophia's like, do you hear music? And Sophia's dad's like, I hear music. And Sophia's mom's gets up, walks out, and Sophia and Sophia's mom walk out to the window where they can clearly see the house, their neighbor. and that's when they can hear the music a little bit more. They lift up the window, and the music is very clear. They see lights, they see a bunch of cars in the driveway of the neighbor's house. They see kind of like lights on. They see people in the backyard. There's a pool in the backyard too. They see some people swimming. They see a bunch of coolers with a ton of grape juice in there. Grape juice, apple juice, all the juice you could imagine, if you know what I mean. And, Sophia and Sophia's mom kind of look at each other. And Sophia's mom's well, that's okay. I mean, she is just, getting used to the house. And I can only imagine. It must be so lonely without your parents there. So, this is fine. I mean, it's 9 o'clock anyways. I mean, people are allowed to enjoy themselves. Then it's 10 o'clock. Then it's 11 o'clock. Then it's 12. Then it's 1 in the morning. And Sophia's like, Mom, I can't go to sleep. And Sophia's mom's like, yeah, I know. The music continues to be loud. They've shut all the doors, but the faint hum is it's just annoying enough to keep them from falling asleep. And so the party is, in fact, even more loud and more rambunctious than it was at 9, 10, or 11, or 12. It seems like people just keep showing up. And Sophia's mom's like, okay, well, you know what? Hopefully this is a one-time thing. Hopefully this is a one-time thing. It doesn't happen a bunch of times. It's fine. People can have parties once in a while. When we threw that, that party for your birthday and people stayed kind of late. And Sophia's like, Mom, that was nothing like this. And Sophia's mom's like, yeah, I know, honey. I'm just trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, okay? I'm sorry. Honey, please. I'm trying to give her, the benefit of the doubt here. And so sure enough, around, 2:30, they're all able to fall asleep. And, Sophia's parents have to do something the next day. This party was on a Sunday, which is, during the summer, so the kids don't really have a lot to do. Maybe they have a job or something. But the parents get up the next morning, and Sophia's up, and Sophia's like, hi, Mom, hi, Dad. And they're like, because they have to go into work now. And Sophia's like, well, hopefully that was a one-time thing. Otherwise, she seems like a great neighbor. And Sophia's dad's like, I don't know about that, sweetie, but I guess we'll see. And so sure enough, that night, they're sitting and they're finishing the movie. And Sophia's parents are like, you know what? I don't know if we can completely finish this movie, or they were starting a new one. They're watching something. They're like, I don't know if we can really finish this. We got to go to bed early. We definitely did not get an adequate amount of sleep last night. I'm sorry. I don't really know. I'm sorry about that. And Sophia's like, that's fine, Mom. At 8:30, Sophia's dad's like, all right, I think I'm going to go to bed. And that's when they heard it again, the faint hum of music. And Sophia's like, oh no. And Sophia's mom's like, oh no. And Sophia's dad's like, no. They all rush out to see the window. They open it up, and once again, cars start piling in. And they're like, oh my God. Oh my God. No. So sure enough, party, super loud, rambunctious, people everywhere, talking, people jumping the pool, water splashes. At this point, right, they're able to fall asleep a bit earlier because they try and go to sleep right away. So they're restless in bed for 4 hours, but then they eventually fall asleep. Next morning, Sophia's up and she's like, hi, Mom and Dad. And they're like, except they're going to work, man. And, the next day, right, when they're watching TV and they're very kind of anxiously waiting for noise to happen, for music. And there's no music. There's no noise. And, around 9:30, the parents are like, all right, we're going to go to bed. And Sophia's like, well, there's no party. Maybe this will be the end of the parties, right? So they actually go over to the window and they look. And there are now three cars parked in the driveway. And Sophia's like, there are 3 cars. That's 2 more cars than normal. And then Sophia's mom's like, well, maybe the parents are home. So Sophia, her mom, and her dad walk over to the house, and they knock on the door. And, a new person greets them. And it looks like Audrey, the girl next home. It looks like her, but older. So they assumed, is this Audrey's mom? They say, hey, are you the parents who live here? And, Audrey's mom and dad, who walked up to the door, said, yes, hello there. You must be our neighbors. And Sophia's parents are like, yes, how's it going? This is a great neighborhood. You made a great choice. We're your neighbors right over there. And they point to their house. We'd love to, invite you over to dinner. We're also aware that you're very busy. So if any time works this week. And they're like, oh, we're so sorry. We're actually just stopping over tonight and leaving tomorrow. We just wanted to make sure that Audrey was doing all right and that things were going smoothly over here. And we got some crazy business stuff to go and do. We really appreciate it, though. You guys seem to be great neighbors from what Audrey has told us. And thank you so much. And can we have your number? Just in case, because, a lot of time Audrey's here by herself, and we just want to make sure she's okay. And, Sophia's parents are like, yeah, okay, we'll take your number. So they take their number, right? And, they give their number to Audrey's parents, and then they pass ways. And Sophia's like, all right, well, I guess if Audrey gets, bad enough, we can always, text her parents. And Sophia's parents are like, yeah, we should be careful, though, because that's going to be our last trick up our sleeve, if we're being honest. So sure enough, right, and, her parents leave the next morning. Sophia watches as the cars pull out of the driveway. And for, the rest of the summer, there's about, 4 to 5 parties every single week. Sophia's parents get the worst sleep that they have ever gotten in a long time. And it's not great. It was not a great summer. So, yeah, it was a pretty tough summer for them, but the school year was starting. And, Sophia's parents were like, you know what, this is going to be good because, Audrey probably is going to go away to college, or if she's college nearby, she at least won't be going hard every single day. And Sophia was pretty happy about this because, she goes to the high school there and, she needs to wake up pretty early and she needs to, do her work at night. And so it was the first week of school, and there was no parties, no nothing. Things were turning out pretty good. They were pretty happy about this. So Sophia one day was just in her room. It was 9 at night, and it was on a Tuesday. And she was writing up a lab report for her chemistry class. And that's when she heard the all too familiar buzz of music. That was a little too faint, but was definitely coming from somewhere. And she's like, please tell me I'm just imagining things. Because she was, very anxiously waiting for, one of these, crazy parties to, annoy her parents, right? She was just waiting for one of these things to happen. So she's like, I'm probably just imagining things. I'm probably just coming up with things. And that's when her mom, Sophia's mom, bursts through the door and says, it's happening, Sophia. It's happening. She isn't going home. It's a Tuesday. Oh, my God. And at this point, right, all three of them rush out to the window, they look out, and it is one of the crazy parties that they had in, I don't know, that they had over the summer. And Sophia's like, okay, well, Mom, it is late August. Maybe she goes to one of those colleges that start in the middle of September. So they're hoping, right? At this point, they're like, Sophia, you might need to start doing your homework earlier just in case this continues to happen. So for the remainder of August, the next couple weeks and the first week of September, these parties happen 3 to 4 times a week, continuously. And Sophia is doing her homework early, but it's getting more and more difficult because as the school year continues on, it's hard. She gets more and more work. And this is when it's midway through September. Sophia is trying to do a project. She has a lab due. Her partners aren't pulling their weight, so Sophia has to pick up the slack. She's stressing out, and that's when it's 9:30. She hears the buzz of music, and she needs at least 2 more hours to finish her work, and she can't concentrate, and she's runs into her mom's room. She's like, Mom, I need to do I need to do a project, a big lab report. This is a big part of my grade. I need at least 2 more hours to do it. I can't focus with the music. This is ridiculous. Doesn't she go to college or something? It's in the middle of September. No way her college starts in, October or something like that. And, Sophia's mom's like, Sophia, I have bad news. I was just casually talking with Audrey's parents, and Audrey's parents just brought up the fact that she was taking a gap year to pursue her, fashion company, which basically means she's going to be in that house every day pursuing her fashion company, which basically means having people over every night and for the rest of the year. And Sophia's mom's like, I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. And that's when Sophia's dad is like, I know what to do. Real quick, the secret word of the day is neighbor or neighbors, whichever one you want to comment. I will try to heart as many of those comments to say neighbor down below. And also, if you want to support the channel at this point or later on, sit down and binge watch some videos and let me know in the comment section what you're doing while you're watching them or how many of the videos you've watched. Thank you guys so much for doing that once again, and let's get back to the story. So anyway, Sophia's dad says, I know what to do. And Sophia's mom and dad look at each other, and they look at Sophia and say, hey, we're going to call the non-emergency line and basically report a party going on. Because there was a rule that, like, passed, I think, like, 10 or something. You can't be making that much noise. And also, it's pretty clearly, like, underage kids with apple juice, the one that you're not supposed to be having if you're underage, right? And so they're like, screw it. Like, we've given her plenty of, like, we've given her chances, like, we got to do it. So anyways, they call up, the non-emergency line. They're like, all right, we'll send someone over there. We'll break it up, like, no problem. And sure enough, like, Sophia feels a little bad, but she watches, and 20 minutes later, this cop car comes up, like, knocks on the door. They see the door open. They see some people in the back start, like, kind of getting nervous, trying to, like, hide all the apple juice, jumping over the fence, trying to disperse, right? And sure enough, within 20 minutes, basically everyone either got in their car and left or jumped over the fence, and the party was completely done. And Sophia was like, I feel bad, but, like, she's done this every day, 4 days a week or whatever, and, I need to work. This is kind of ridiculous. And so Sophia was able to finish up her science project. All good. She got the lab report nice and done. And, the next day, she goes in, submits her project. Life is good. Things are good. And, Sophia comes back, is just waiting with her parents. She doesn't actually have any work that day. It's a Friday night. They go to, like, watch some television together. And they don't hear the typical hum of music that they normally did, because Sophia routinely had them on Fridays. She had them on other random days throughout the week, but she always had them on Fridays. And they were like, oh, it's like 9:30. Like, I'm surprised that, like, there isn't anything going on right now. And Sophia's like, well, we did call the cops on them last time. So they're probably, if they're having anything, they're probably doing it a lot more discreetly, or they're just not doing anything at all. And Sophia's like, I feel a little bit bad. And Sophia's dad's like, Sophia, don't feel bad. Like, this girl next door is taking advantage of her parents' absence and having people over 4 times a week, not even over the summer, which was annoying but understandable to an extent. But during, like, the school year, like, she knows that, like, there are other people in the neighborhood that have jobs, that go to school, that need to do things, that need to go to sleep before 10 at night, Don't feel bad about this. So that made Sophia feel a little bit better. So, she went to sleep, and the next day they woke up, and Sophia and her mom were walking out because Sophia was, like, walking over to the bus stop, and Sophia's mom was walking, to get her, like, to go to her car, and that's when they both stop and turn around, and they look at their house, and their house is covered in eggs. Yes, their house has been egged. If you don't know, a lot of, like, not a lot, actually, very few, but it's like teenagers will show their disrespect by, quote unquote, egging a house, basically taking, eggs, throwing them at them. It's a crime. Don't do it. It's also ridiculous and stupid. Little disclaimer, I've never done that, and I don't have any friends who've ever done that. It's ridiculous. You're an idiot if you do it. Okay, moving on. I just have to say that, right? But that is my honest opinion. So anyway, Sophia and Sophia's mom are looking up. Their entire house is egged. So Sophia's mom's like, oh my God, who could have done this? And Sophia's like, I think I have a suspicion, right? And Sophia turns to her mom and is like, what if, Audrey knows that it was us that turned her in? Sophia's mom's like, what if she knew that? What, like, oh my God, but what if it's someone else? What if there's, like, a criminal organization that's egging our house? And Sophia's like, Mom, it is not a criminal organization that decided to throw eggs at our house. It's obviously an angsty teenager. And who's the one angsty teenager who may or may not be upset with us? Because we probably were the ones, that called the police on their party. And Sophia's mom's like, yeah, you're probably right. Well, we got to call someone to clean this up. And, what if this happens again? And Sophia's like, well, if this happens again, we need proof. And, Sophia's mom's like, I have been thinking for a while. Your dad and I have been talking. Maybe this is just the time to pull the trigger and get a security camera. And Sophia's like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. So anyways, they call up 2 people, someone to install security cameras and someone to clean the house. And the person to clean the house comes earlier in the day. Security camera person comes in, the afternoon, and they're talking with Sophia's mom, and Sophia's back, and they look, and, security cameras are put up somewhat discreetly, but they're put around this, like the premises, and the person says, all right, so download this app on your phone and, do this thing on the computer, and you will have, access to these camera feeds. It also will record it. There are also motion sensors. So if you want, you can have a notification whenever there's motion, and also record for like 24 hours. Then it just automatically deletes so that you don't have too much storage. You can also have an option where you pay 99 cents to have whatever, right? So, they go to sleep and they're like, all right, feeling a little bit better about this. And that's when they wake up the next day. And once again, the entire house is egged. Because, they wake up, because they walk out. Sophia and Sophia's mom kind of forgot about the egging that happened last night. But then when they walked out, they were like, oh my God. Because they turn around and once again, their entire house is just covered in eggs that have been pelted at the house, right? Completely covered. Sophia's mom's like, oh my God, I gotta call the cleaning person again. This is so embarrassing. And Sophia's like, mom, like, let's check the security camera footage. And Sophia's mom's like, well, you'll miss school or something. And she's like, you know what? Today doesn't even matter. Look, we're not doing anything that important. Just say I'm sick. Sophia's mom's like, well, I should really bring you to school. And Sophia's like, mom, let me help you with this. And Sophia's mom's like, fine, whatever. Calls up the school, says that she's sick. I don't know any parent that would do that, but anyways, her mom did, so we're cool. So Sophia and Sophia's mom goes, probably because Sophia's mom needed help with the technology or whatever. Sophia and her mom walk back in, and they go on the computer. They go to the cameras, and 3 of the 4 cameras have no motion sensor or activity, but there is one. So they go into it. They check the recordings. And it's not like the greatest quality. It's a little grainy, but it is very clear that you can see Audrey at 2 a.m. with a thing of eggs walk over and pelt their house for like 3 minutes and then walk back over. So at this point, Sophia and Sophia's mom are looking at each other, and Sophia's mom's like, well, I'm glad we know who, but what do we do with this? And Sophia's like, well, mom, you have their parents' text. You have their, their contact message. So Sophia shows her mom how to download the video, and Sophia's mom, sends a text saying, hey, I know you guys are busy, and I don't really I don't know how else to I don't know how you're going to respond to this, but, your daughter has been pelting our house with eggs, and we have video proof of it. So they send the message. Sophia's mom then sends the video attachment, and they wait for a reply. And it's like 8 hours go by when the mom replies and says, our daughter would only pelt your house if you deserved it. And Sophia's mom's like, wait, did Audrey take control of her mom's phone? And Sophia's like, well, that's kind of an extrapolation. I don't know if that's I don't know, mom. Maybe these aren't the greatest people next door. And, they look at it again, and Sophia's mom responds, with a question mark. And Audrey's mom responds, did I not make myself clear, question mark. So at this point, Sophia realizes that, oh, my God, this is not good, right? This is kind of crazy. So Sophia, her mom, and dad all sit down and try and consult each other, and they're kind of just okay, what are we going to do here? I don't totally understand what's going on, right? And they're like, okay, this is kind of crazy. It seems like the parents actually don't care. And, Sophia's like, well, mom, where did you get that number? And she's like, well, I have Sophia's mom's number, or I have Audrey's mom's number and Audrey's dad's number. And Sophia's like, well, I only remember you getting Audrey's dad's number. And Sophia's mom's like, yeah, well, when we met the parents, Audrey's dad, gave us his number, and then we gave him ours. And then Sophia's like, okay, well, how did you get Audrey's mom's number? And Sophia's mom's like, oh, well, yeah, well, when we met Audrey the first time, I asked for her parents' number, and she gave me, oh. And Sophia's like, wait, mom, Sophia or Audrey gave you her mom, quote unquote, number. And Sophia's mom's like, yeah, I'm starting to believe that actually isn't her mom's number. Sophia's like, but her dad's number you got from her dad. And Sophia's mom was like, yeah. So Sophia's like, all right, well then send the exact same text message, but send it to her dad, because I got a feeling that you didn't actually get her mom's number. Sophia's like, Sophia's mom's like, oh, that's not a bad idea. So they do the whole process again. They send a message to the dad, and Sophia's like, well, that means I've been talking to Audrey the whole time. This is so weird. And, Sophia's like, you know what? She's crazy. Don't even worry about it. We got to send a message to her dad, though. So they craft up the same message, basically saying, hey, so sorry to, put you through this, but your daughter's been pelting eggs at our house. We have video proof of it. Attached as a video file. I don't really know what to do here. I was hoping that you could, say something or make it stop, basically. And they send a message, and it delivers, and they wait for 12 hours. And, they wake up the next day, and they're like, the dad didn't respond, we're probably going to get pelted again. And sure enough, Sophia and her mom walk out, and they look up at their house, and once again, there's a bunch of eggs all over it, and they check the security camera footage, and once again, sure enough, it is Audrey who went over, threw eggs at her house, and Sophia got on the bus and had a pretty bad day at school because she's like, I feel helpless now, our neighbor's basically holding us hostage like this. We can't do anything. And when Sophia gets back home, her mom was looking at her phone, and she's like, Sophia's like, hey, did you get a response from Audrey's dad? And Sophia's mom's like, no. And then Sophia's mom's like, oh my God, he just responded. And the message basically says, hey, I'm so sorry. I'm currently in Asia right now for business reasons. This text message literally just got to me right now. I'm so sorry this happened. I have no idea. I'm not in the States, but Audrey's mom is, and she is coming back immediately to go talk to our daughter. And at this point, right, Sophia and Sophia's mom look at each other like, we won, baby, we won. So Sophia kind of neglects her homework and doesn't do it till really late because Sophia and her mom and her dad are basically all sitting, watching the window, waiting for the car to pull up. And sure enough, this fancy BMW very quickly pulls into the driveway, and then Audrey's mom that they saw before walked on up, stomped in, went bum 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 on the door, starts slamming on the door. It opens up. She starts yelling immediately and walks into the house. And at this point, right, Sophia and her parents just look at each other like, oh my God. And about an hour later, after, they see Audrey's mom doesn't leave. She stays at the house. But about an hour later, they receive a text message from a number that they don't have saying, I'm so sorry, about my daughter. I had no idea that my daughter was actually still staying here. She said that, she goes to college 5 days a week and stays here on the weekends. I had no idea that she was staying here every single day, party. So this is Audrey's mom texting on her real number, I'm so sorry, this is insane. I had no idea. And also the fact that she, pelted your house. How much money do you want for the damages? And Sophia's mom just responds hey, we don't want any money. It's totally fine. We know it's not you guys. All we ask is that this just doesn't happen again, and that maybe your daughter, when she throws her parties, will be a bit more respectful of, other people and their time commitments. And, Audrey's mom is Audrey is not even going to be living at this house anymore. We're shipping her away to a college that will accept her midway through the beginning of the year. I'm sorry, but we're probably not going to be living in this house anymore. We're putting it up on the market soon. You guys were very, kind for not calling the police on our daughter for egging your house. You could have totally done that. Thank you for all your cooperation. And that was the end of the message. So once again, Sophia and her parents were without neighbors. But that's not
Click on the video on
necessarily a
screen
bad
right now.
thing.
I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. Leave a like and I'll actually give you nothing, dude. No joke. Nah, but what's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. And imagine you're just sitting there on a nice sunny day, having such a nice time, when this Karen appears out of nowhere, demands to speak to the manager, and says that she's going to place you under citizen's arrest, and then sly tackles you like she plays for the freaking Giants. Yeah, so this happened to a subscriber, and I'll be telling that story, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's just jump right into the story. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Andrew. So anyways, right, Andrew's at the park with his little brother, Every single Saturday, he goes to the park with his little brother. It's just like a nice activity they have because Andrew is significantly older. His little brother's like, I don't know, dude, he's like 8 or something, and Andrew is like a senior in high school. So yeah, and also this is going to be the last year that Andrew's at home because he's going away for college pretty soon. So he's honestly just trying to spend as much time with his little brother as possible. So anyways, this is a normal Saturday, and he was just kind of chilling in the park. And there's a lot of fun things to do in the park, like there's, I don't know, there's slides, there's the outside world, there's grass that can be touched. Wink, wink, nod, nod to a lot of you guys. I'm just kidding. Love you guys. Don't unsubscribe. But yeah, this day was a little bit different though because there was a Karen in the park. So the first time that Andrew actually saw this Karen, she was just she was standing at the other side. And she had like she had the big aviator sunglasses on. She had the quintessential Karen cut. You already know what I'm talking about. It's like when the hair is cut really short on one side and flopped all the way over on the other, like the Karen I showed on the screen earlier in the video. Yeah, she had the quintessential Karen cut. She had the big glasses. She had like this like really weird shirt that didn't fit that well. And she was like full of anger and assault and tilt, and she was just not having it. She was like on the other side, her hands were on her hips, and she was scanning the park. Like she was looking around. Basically, dude, she was scanning the park for trouble because she was bored, you know? She wanted to just mess with some people, and mess with some people she was about to. So Andrew looks over, and the Karen is staring right at him. And he's like, no, 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 no. Like, come on, ma'am. Like, come on now. And the Karen starts walking over very angrily. Like, her fists are balled, and she's like, bum, 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 bum. Just kind of like starting to walk over, right? And Andrew's just looking at her like, dude, you can't be serious, bro. Like, you cannot be serious right now. And she comes over, and she looks at them. And right now, it's just Andrew and his little brother. Just like, his little brother is just like blissfully, unawarely, just like, I don't know, doing his thing. And Andrew just like looks up, and she says, excuse me. And Andrew's like, yeah, what's up? And she's like, this is a private park, and I demand you guys go. And the thing is, right, Andrew knows for a fact that this is just massive cap right now because, dude, he's been going to this park since he was a little kid, since he was like his little brother's age. And yeah, this was very clearly a public park. And he just responds calmly, like, ma'am, I think you have this confused with somewhere else. This is pretty clearly a public park. I've been going here for a while. Like, you can even look it up. It's listed as a public park. And she's like, this is a private park, and if you don't get out of here in 3 seconds, I'm calling up the manager. And Andrew looks at her, and he's just like, dude, what are you talking about? What do you mean the manager, bro? We're at a public park. The manager of the parks department? Are we calling up Leslie Knope? Like, what's going on right now? And she's like, 3, 2... Dude, for some reason, some people just think if they start counting down that you're going to do what they say. Give me $1 million. 3, 2... Subscribe to this channel with notifications on. 3, 2... But anyways, right, so the countdown goes down, and Karen's like, that's it. You guys are so doomed. And she, like, walks over, and there was, like a park police dude or a park ranger or whatever who happened to be, kind of, passing by, and the Karen must have seen him. So he walks up to the park ranger and says, like, arrest these 2 hooligans immediately, and points at, Andrew, who's just, like, sitting there, and his little brother, who's playing in a sandbox right now. And the park ranger's like, ma'am, like, what is the reason that you want me to, like, go over there? And she says, they are in the park, and I don't want that. As a taxpayer, this is my private park. So basically, that Karen had construed that since she pays taxes, that, the taxes pay for this park, and therefore, this park is hers, therefore, it is her private park, which is just the most ridiculous logic I've ever heard in a million years. But hey, man, I mean, we are talking about a Karen right now, so if you thought that she was going to have normal people logic, then, like, I don't know, bro, you must live in a different planet, too. But anyways, right, the park ranger says yes, but they probably pay taxes, too, and either way, this park is open to everyone. Like, all of your tax dollars pay, to have this park available for everyone. This isn't your private park. And that's when the Karen goes over, looks at the ranger and says, I demand to speak to your manager to sort this nonsense out. And the park ranger looks at her and says, I'm actually the chief ranger here, or whatever the highest ranking ranger here is. I am my manager. If you'd like to speak to me, I'm all ears. And the Karen just kind of looks at him and gives him this look. It is like, fine. So the Karen, at this point, Andrew's like, all right, word. The Karen's not going to mess with us anymore. We're chilling. Hopefully she doesn't come back here and do this like every week or something. But unfortunately, Andrew was completely wrong, because the Karen, as she's storming away from the park ranger, starts storming towards Andrew and his little brother, and he's like, "Oh my God, what's going on now, bro? Like, what are we doing now, bro?" And she comes over and she's like, "You know what? You're disrespecting your elders by not leaving right now." So at this point, right, the Karen at first says, "Get out of here. This is my private park. I demand you to do so. 3, 2, 1, get out of here." Now she's saying, because you don't leave when I demanded you to, over a lie, right, that you're disrespecting your elders. And at this point, Andrew's like, "Ma'am, like, I'm sorry. We're not leaving the park. This is like the time I spend with my little brother. He likes it here. Like, just because like I'm not doing what you're saying doesn't mean I'm disrespecting you. There's a big difference." And the Karen's like, "You think this is the last of it? Well, you're wrong." And the Karen basically disappears into the void, in a sense. I mean, not actually, but she kind of disappears back into the woods, the park, whatever. She leaves, but she doesn't exactly leave. Andrew thought that she was good and gone, but that is not the case. So anyways, later that day, Andrew's little brother has a birthday party to go to. So about after half an hour later, like chilling in the park, Andrew finds the little brother. He's like, "Hey man, like, we got to go to your friend's birthday party." And obviously Andrew's little brother is really excited for all this. So, they get up and they walk to the car. So Andrew gets in the car and he starts, like, he puts his keys in, he starts the car, and he looks behind him, right? Because you have to look when you're backing out. You don't want to back into someone. That would be big bad. And he sees someone sitting in a car. And it's like this weird minivan type thing. Nothing wrong with minivans. They're actually nice cars, right? But it's like this minivan with a bunch of like weird stickers on it. And there's a woman sitting in the car. And she was looking at them. And Andrew was like, "That looks like the woman from the park. But it can't be, because she's been gone for like an hour at this point. Like, no way that's the same Karen from the park earlier. Right?" Yeah, so anyways, he pulls out and he starts driving, because he's driving over to his his little brother's friend's house, which is like, I don't know, 20 minutes away or something. So not too bad. And yeah, that's when like he looks in his rearview mirror after driving for like 5 minutes in the same car that was in the parking lot with the person who looked just like the Karen is right behind him. So at this point, Andrew's like, "Well, maybe this is just a coincidence. This is a little weird, but no way the Karen's actually following me. Like, that would actually be psychopathic. There's not a shot she's actually doing that." So Andrew just keeps driving, right? And driving and driving and driving, and they're about to pull into the neighborhood of the kid of the little brother's friend, right? And guess what? The Karen, or what looks like the Karen, is still driving behind him. So in Andrew's mind, he's like, "Well, I mean, maybe she's a grandmother of a kid who's also going to this party, who also happens not to be the Karen that we met in the park. Maybe." So yeah, at this point, Andrew's like, he pulls into the driveway of the kid who's having the birthday party, and he watches as the Karen mobile, that's what we're going to call it right now, the Karen mobile slows down. And Andrew's like, if she pulls in, like, I'm actually going to have a problem, right? And if it is the Karen, we're going to have a problem. But the Karen mobile slows down as it passes the house and then speeds back up and goes by. And Andrew's like, "Well, that must have just been a really strange coincidence, because I could have sworn that was the Karen, right?" And Andrew goes in with his little brother to drop him off or not drop him off, but to be there as well, to bring him into the birthday party, thinking that was just a really strange coincidence and that definitely wasn't the Karen. Let me just say that Andrew was mistaken. The Karen was stalking him all the way to the birthday party. And you might be thinking, well, the Karen must be done. No, she's about to enact her revenge. The Karen is about to strike. Empire strikes back, but replace Empire with Karen. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Karen down below. I just like to see how many people made it this far into the video. And if you want to support the channel, literally the best thing you can do that helps me out even more than you can ever imagine is just at some point today, maybe after this video or later, while you're doing something like drawing or watching a television show or playing a video game or trying to go to sleep, if you can binge watch my old videos, you can watch them, just watch them normally, get one of my playlists. If you watch a bunch of my old videos, it helps me out so much. Let me know in the comment section if you are doing that or are planning on doing it or have done it, so I can reply and say thank you and heart it. Just so you know, it helps me out more than you can ever imagine. Anyways, let's get back to the Karen's revenge, because it's about to get pretty crazy right now. So anyways, Andrew brings his little brother in, and his little brother's at the birthday party, and it's like Star Wars theme. So, dude, I freaking love Star Wars. But they have like sword fights, and they have like stormtrooper helmets, and this kid really liked Captain Rex, so we got a whole Captain Rex Halloween outfit with the helmet and everything. Like, it was super sick. Yeah, but anyways, Andrew hears a car pull up, and he doesn't think much of it. He's like, oh, it's like 30 minutes after the party has started. Like, maybe some kid is just coming late. Like, that happens all the time. And this party happened in the backyard, and there was a fence. So basically, you pulled up and you walked in through the backyard fence, walked into the backyard where the party was happening. In the backyard fence, right, the backyard fence opens. And guess who walks in? It is the Karen. And Andrew is basically in the middle of a massive stare-off with the Karen. Because he's thinking to himself, there is no way, bro. Ain't no way, bro. Like, there is not a shot that is actually the Karen. My eyes must be deceiving me, because I know for a fact that is not the frickin' Karen, bro. Not a chance that is the Karen. But yeah, the Karen walks in, and like some of the other parents there kind of look over. They're like, is that one of these kids' grandmothers or something? Like, what is going on? Like, we don't know who that is. And the mom of the birthday boy, who's the friend of Andrew's little brother, walks up and says, hey there, like, are you related to anyone at the party? And the Karen is like, I am not, says it very proudly. And I don't know why you'd say that so proudly, like you're being mad bold right now. And she says, this party is violating the rules of the city. You must have a permit to throw something like this, which totally isn't true. Maybe there's some weird, very specific law I don't know about, but bro, are you really calling the cops on a kid's Star Wars birthday party that's happening at 3 in the afternoon? Like, you cannot be serious, dude. Yeah, but anyways, the birthday boy's mother is like, nope, I think this is totally okay, ma'am. Like, thank you for voicing your concerns. If you want us to keep it down a little bit, I'll relay the message, but yeah. She basically says, no, take this L, default dance, right? And the Karen is like, no, no, no. Don't you think for a second that you hooligans are going to get away with this. Like, this is illegal. And like, then she points to Andrew and is like, and this one is very disrespectful too. I'm going to call the police on you for breaking the law and being disrespectful to elders, and points at Andrew. And Andrew's like, ma'am, I don't think that's a crime. It's not, I wasn't being disrespectful. Even if I was, though, definitely not a crime, ma'am. Don't know how else to say it, but it's not illegal to be disrespectful. And she's like, well, see about that. So the Karen takes out her phone and walks outside. So Andrew goes up to the birthday boy's mom and is like, I'm so sorry. And the birthday boy's mom is like, why are you sorry? Like, this isn't like, are you related to her? And he's like, no, this woman's like crazy, dude. Like, I was in the park with, my little brother. She comes up to us and says, hey, you need to get out of here because this is her private park. Turns out it was like not, because it's a public park. I've been going there for like 10 years. And then she came back and said, I'm going to get revenge on you. I think she followed me to the party. So this is all kind of my fault. I'm sorry. And obviously the birthday boy's mom is like, dude, like, this, like, she isn't you. Like, you're not controlling her with like a little, like, I don't know, remote control or something. Like, this is a random woman who followed you. This is not your fault. But yeah, I wonder if she's actually going to call the cops. 20 minutes later, a police officer pulls up and he walks in, and some of the kids like turn around and are like, oh my God, what? Because like a police officer actually comes in, and he walks in, and the Karen runs up and is like, thank you, officer. Thank you, officer. Thank you for coming. Oh my God, it's been terrible. It's been terrible. And the police officer's like, I got a call of a illegal function happening here that's very destructive and causing lots of damage, I've been told on the phone. The police officer takes off his sunglasses and he just like surveys what's in front of him. It's a bunch of little kids with a Star Wars piñata and little flashy lightsabers and Star Wars action figures and a Lego Death Star and a bunch of parents and cake. And at that point, right, the police officer's like, turns to the Karen and is like, am I at the right place, ma'am? And she's like, yes, this is the illegal function. Shut it down right now. And also, just so you know, if you want to arrest him, and points to Andrew, you may arrest him too for being disrespectful to his elders. Police officer's like, ma'am, that's not a thing. Second of all, and he kind of like turns to Karen. He's like, ma'am, did you really just call the police on a kid's birthday party at 3 p.m? And the Karen's face turns and she's like, but this is a legal function. You must shut it down immediately or I'm calling your manager. He's like, okay. Yeah, ma'am, I'm not shutting this down. Like, please don't waste our time. We actually have real things to deal with. And he gets in his police car and he leaves. And the Karen is standing there and she's like literally starting to shake because she is so angry and she is mauling so hard. She is so angry right now. And, the birthday boy's mom goes up to her and is like, ma'am, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Like, I think it's pretty obvious that, like, you're not really welcome here. And she's like, you. And then points at Andrew, and you too. And then points to all the kids, and you. And all the kids are like, bro, what? I'm just here for the Star Wars, bro. And she's like, you think that you can get rid of me. You think that I won't know that you paid off that police officer. And Andrew's like, bro, what? What the fuck, bro? What? Huh? And she's like, and you think that, like, you can get away with this? No, I will be back. And she just, like, storms out of there, and they're all kind of just looking at her, and then they're all looking at each other, and Andrew's like, turns, like, goes to the mom of the birthday boy, and he's like, look, we should actually be prepared for her to come back and do something crazy. I mean, she was crazy enough to follow me here and then call the cops on us just because I didn't leave the park when she asked me to or demanded me to. So she's definitely capable of being pretty crazy, so guys, just be careful. And at this point, right, the birthday boy's mom's like, okay, you know what? I don't even care. I just want my son to have a good birthday. Like, we're just going to keep going. If she comes back and wants trouble, she'll get trouble. And Andrew's like, all right, I'm all for that. I mean, that's cool with me, dude. So you guys might be thinking, okay, what can this Karen actually do right now? Like, how bad can she actually be? And let me just say that set your expectations to the moon because she's about to do something crazy. So anyways, the party is almost wrapping up. It's like 4 o'clock. It started at 2. It's been going hard for like 2 hours. And at this point, like, honestly, Andrew's going to leave in like 10 minutes. But that's when the Karen comes back. And she comes back and she has with her this, like, those carts that are on wheels. I think I'm being stupid not remembering the name. But she's carrying like this cart behind her. And it's full of water balloons. However, inside the water balloons is not water. That would have been bad enough. This is really messed up. But inside the water balloons are paint and piss. Dude, I don't know how she got this done so quickly. Like, she literally came back 45 minutes later with a ton of water balloons full of paint and piss. I low-key think that she's been, like, saving this for a while. Like, I legitimately believe that she's been saving the paint and piss balloons for, like, a second now, which is really messed up. However, it is what she did. So she came back with a cart full of water balloons full of paint and piss, right? I'm just going to call it pee just so YouTube doesn't get mad at me. Because I don't know, they get mad at everything. And she comes back and she's like, the police, she starts yelling. She's like, you guys paid off the police officers? And everyone turns to look at her. So I'm taking the law into my own hands. And she takes one of the paint-filled water balloons and literally chucks it into the crowd of kids. Like, what the fuck, bro? What is this violence, dude? Throws the water balloon full of paint. It explodes everywhere. Kids start, like, screaming. The adults are like, what is going on here? Everyone's running as she throws another pee-filled water balloon. Boom! Hits one of the parents, explodes full of urine all over them. They're like, oh my God, you're a disgusting old woman. Throws another one full of paint. Boom! I'm having too much fun with this, man. This story's awful. I'm having too much fun with it. Anyways, she's just like chucking the paint and pee balloons everywhere. They're exploding. Urine and pee or urine and paint are just everywhere. Not exactly how I would want to end my 8-year-old's, Star Wars themed birthday party. Because I don't totally remember the Star Wars episode where, Darth Vader comes in with a pee balloon and throws it at Anakin Skywalker and is like, wait a minute, Luke Skywalker, and is like, Luke, I am your father. Now take this pee, bro. And this like explodes all over his face. I don't remember that. Maybe that's part of the George Lucas director cut. I didn't see that one yet, though. But anyways, at this point, Andrew's like, enough is enough. He pulls out his phone, calls 911, basically says, this old woman who's been harassing us is now throwing pee and paint-filled balloons at a bunch of kids. And immediately the cops are like, what the freak, bro? So they come over, right? After about like 2 or 3 minutes, like I think the cops are just in the neighborhood or whatever. And they stop in and they're like, what's going on over here? And the woman, like the Karen, is like laughing. She's like, throwing her like pee and paint balloons. Everyone's screaming, bunch of kids are crying or whatever. It is like the most insane thing ever. Typical day in the life of a Karen, but the most insane thing ever. And the cops are like, what are you doing over here? And the Karen looks at them, and the Karen literally takes a pee-filled balloon and chucks it at one of the police officers, hits him square in the face, and the other one's like, freeze! And like starts moving towards the Karen. So the Karen is like, uh-oh, at this point. She like knocks over her crate full of like pee or like paint balloons or whatever. They bounce everywhere. Police officer steps on one and slips in it. So he falls for a second. And the Karen runs inside the house and locks the door. So at this point, right, the officers are like, is everyone okay? And, like, there's a bunch of crying kids or whatever. And the mom of the birthday boy comes over and says, yes, like, this crazy woman, like, called the cops on us. And, the cops didn't do anything because we're just having a legal, lawful birthday party. So she came back to enact the law herself, in her own quotes, and has been throwing balloons full of unidentified urine and random paint at us. Like, this is ridiculous. And she also just ran into our house. I don't know who she is. Like, I'm scared. Cops are like, all right, we're calling in backup. So they literally call in backup for a Karen. They probably called in like a 1428, which is code for crazy Karen alert. Okay, probably not actually, but maybe at this point they have a Karen, like a term for like Karens at this point. But anyways, so the Karen is like inside the house and has locked the door. And, at this point, Andrew turns to the birthday boy's mom and is like, is there any way to get inside there? Like, do you have a key or something? And she's like, actually, yeah, like, there's a key behind behind the house. So anyways, they go behind the house and they find, like, a rock. Because, like, you can get, like, fake rocks or fake plants you can hide secret keys in. So they go behind there. The birthday boy's mom finds where the secret key is, takes it out. It is like, okay, well, she's not going to let us in unless you distract her. So at this point, Andrew's like, dude, I got it. So anyways, Andrew goes up to one of the windows, starts banging on it, and the Karen gets distracted, walks over, and starts screaming at him like, why would you call the cops on your elders? That is so disrespectful. Like, I was literally just enacting the law. I was doing what was right by throwing balloons at you guys. And Andrew's like, dude, you just came to a kid's birthday party, and you threw like balloons full of pee and paint at them. Like, you're insane. Like, you need to be locked up, dude. And at this point, Andrew's really just stalling because while this is happening, while he's having the conversation with the Karen, the mom is over at the little kid's birthday boy, whatever mom, is at the front door, put the key in, and is like starting to unlock the door. And the Karen's like, you know what? You're so disrespectful. Back in my day, like, kids like you would just, like, listen to their elders. Honestly, the world was such a better place back then when kids would just be, they'd be obedient. They would do what needs to be said. And they respected the rules of the private park. They respected the rules of no birthday parties after 12 in the morning. Also keeping, like, this birthday party is ridiculous. You guys are worshiping space monsters. And Andrew's like, bro, it's a freaking Star Wars party. It's not that deep. And she's about to go on another back in my day rampage when she's like, back in my day. And at that point, the door opens up. The police officers go in. They're like, ma'am, I need you to freeze. However, there are 2 doors leading to the back. There's like a main door and then a side door by the kitchen. So she runs out the side door. And at this point, the Karen is like, running, well, quote unquote running towards the street because she's trying to get away. And that's when Andrew steps in her way. But the Karen was not going down without a fight. Because remember the beginning when I was like, did the little skit? I was like, imagine if a Karen is like mad at you and then freaking slide tackles you like she's on the Giants. Yeah, the Karen literally bodies Andrew. And Andrew's like a decently sized kid. He's not a big kid. He's not like a super frail kid. Like, bro played, I don't know, he wasn't like a track star, so he wasn't super skinny, but he also wasn't super big like a football player. He was like, I don't know, he was a baseball player, like about in between. But he just gets slammed by this like 200-pound woman. Boom! He flies on the ground, right? And she's on the ground too. And she's like, you should have gotten out of my way. Like, you were in my way. You're disrespecting your elders. And at this point, right, the police officers come and they're like, ma'am, like they go behind her, they get her up and they put her in handcuffs. And she's like, officers, this is a perfect time for you to arrest this guy. And they're just like, huh? Like, what? And the Karen's like, yeah, this guy over here, and kind of like nods towards Andrew. And they're like, why would we arrest him? Because earlier today, he was at my private park and he refused to leave. And after that, he came back and started this terrible party, which is against the law. And they're like, ma'am, he was at a public park. Because like the police officers were there when Andrew explained it to like them or whatever. He was at a public park. Then you followed him here. And then you call the cops on a kid's Star Wars themed birthday party at 2 p.m. And then when the cops didn't do anything rightfully, you came back and attacked them all with pee-filled and paint-filled balloons. And when the officers were like, ma'am, how did you get pee-filled and paint-filled balloons so quickly? And the Karen was like, you know, you guys are not enacting the law like you used to. You guys used to, like, enact the respecting elders law. You used to do what you're supposed to do. I'm just taking the law into my own hands. And they're like, ma'am, like, can we at least ask where you got the pee-filled balloons? And she's like, you know what? I've been building my artillery over the last 6 months. And at this point, Andrew's like, oh my God. So you're saying I could have just gotten hit with a 6-month-old pee balloon? I think I'm going to puke, bro. Yeah, so at that point, they take the Karen away, and she's like, kind of yelling or whatever. And yeah, so the mom like says to the police officers, like, hey, can we also like make sure we get a restraining order in here so she's not allowed to come back? And they're like, yeah. He's like, would you like to press charges? And the mom's like, yes. You're like, yeah, I would. Okay. And yeah, so they, at this point, Andrew kind of stays to help clean up and just like stays for literally 2 hours. And by the time he leaves, because it's getting dark and he has to bring his little brother back home, they were literally not even close to being done cleaning it up. Because imagine like paint everywhere. Old woman, 6-month-old urine is just stained everything. And everything's like broken and destroyed. However, though, like somehow, it legit, like the presents did not get destroyed. This little kid's presents did not get a speck of paint or pee on them. Like, dude,
click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of a crazy neighbor Karen that steals the subscriber's phone, and when the subscriber politely asks for his phone back, she calls the police on him. Yeah, that's going to be today's story. I know you'll enjoy it, as these crazy Karen stories are pretty good. So sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Jay. So anyways, Jay and his family have been living in this neighborhood for a while. And, you know, their neighbors who've been living with them since Jay was a little kid are moving on to another neighborhood in like a different state or something. I think the parent got a job, and that was kind of tough for Jay because like the son who lived next door to him, Jay's immediate neighbor, was a pretty cool kid, and Jay and him have kind of like grew up together. And yeah, it was kind of tough. They vowed to stay in touch, but you never know with like stuff like that if you actually will. Like, I know I had a really cool neighbor way back in the day, and she moved away, and we just haven't spoken to her since, as well as other neighbors that we really liked, and I've just not seen them since. But anyways, a new neighbor moves in, and Jay and Jay's parents decide, or at least Jay's parents tell Jay that, okay, Jay, later tonight we're going to go over and we're just going to say hello. We're going to ask if they need anything, and I'm going to bake some cookies today, and we're going to bring them over and give them to the new neighbors, whoever they are. Little did Jay and his parents know that it was not a normal family moving in. It was actually just one individual, right? And it was not a normal individual. It was a Karen. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, maybe the Karen, because, okay, this Karen was like 40. I think she might have had a wife and kids, but we only interact with the Karen herself. I think that, like, the father's out and the kids are always at school or whatever. But anyways, moving in next door is a Karen. This is a horror story. There's a reason why I'm posting this in October, so close to Halloween, man. Because you know what? This is a Karen horror story, bro. So anyways, you know, Jay's mom very nicely bakes a thing of cookies, and Jay and the entire family walk over. So they're walking over, and they see 2 cars in the driveway or whatever, and they walk up to the front porch, and they ring the bell. And they're kind of waiting there for a second. And, you know, eventually they see someone, because like the door is closed, but the door is like kind of like, it's like foggy glass, so you can't see in, but you can see kind of shapes and colors very faintly. And they saw a faint like figure get closer and closer, which basically meant someone was coming to the door. The door slams open, and they see this woman who's probably like 40, 50, I don't know, kind of in that range. She has the Karen haircut, right, where it's like really long on one side and short on the other, and it's all pushed to one side, right? She has on like the standard stereotypical Karen dress, bro. Like they already knew that trouble was coming just by looking at her, right? And the Karen yells at them and says, "Who are you guys?" And like, it was a little bit of an aggressive opener, but Jay's mom was like, I guess she was kind of thinking to herself, well, I mean, we didn't introduce ourselves yet, so I guess she's just a little, I don't know, this woman probably is just really stressed out from the moving process, probably stuff like that. I'm going to give her a break. And she's like, hey, we're your neighbors. We just wanted to come over to say, like, we wanted to ask, like, how you're doing. We wanted to introduce ourselves. And we also wanted to give you this thing of cookies. And Jay's mom extends like kind of like this little basket that has a thing of baked cookies. And like every normal person, including Jay's parents and Jay, would have assumed that that would have been enough to kind of calm the Karen down. That would have been enough to kind of stop any altercation from happening. But no, this Karen is a boss level Karen. She is not your standard level 1 Karen. She is your boss, mafia boss level, like, she's the Ender Dragon Karen compared to your standard, I don't know, creeper or zombie Karen, bro. She is coming for your life. Because the Karen responds to this, the Karen responds to Jay's parents being very nice by saying, if you guys don't get off my property in the next 5 seconds, I will be calling the police. Yeah, let that sink in. You know, someone comes over to you, says, hey, I'm your neighbors. I wanted to know if you need anything. And also, I'm giving you a present of something that I made. And your response is, if you don't get off the property right now, I'm going to call the cops. Bro, something is seriously wrong with you, and you can't convince me otherwise. So yeah, Jay's parents are a little bit like shaken up or taken back or whatever. And Jay's mom turns to Jay and says, all right, honey, let's go. And yeah, that was very, very startling and disappointing. So they're walking back to the house. And Jay, you know, Jay isn't like 8 or anything, but he's like, I don't know, in late middle school. He turns to his mom and is like, Mom, like, why did that lady react like that? And she's like, honey, I don't know. Like, not everyone is super nice. There are some people out there that are just like very bitter and unhappy. And, maybe she's just had an incredibly stressful day moving in. And, maybe we'll try again at a later date, but I don't think we're going to be going back there anytime soon. So for all Jay knew, like, this was the end of his encounter with the Karen. But that is not the case. Not the case at all. Because every morning, pretty early in the morning, like about 6 a.m., and I know a lot of you guys wake up at 6 a.m. anyways to go to school. I know I used to have to wake up at 6:30 to go to school. Now I can barely wake up at 9:30 for my first class in college, bro. It's crazy how it just changes like that. When you're a little kid, you can wake up at 6, no problem. When you're in college, anything before 12 is like, bro, are you serious right now? Yeah, so Jay has to wake up at 6 in the morning to go walk his dog, so he's an early riser. So as every other day, Jay gets up. It's like a Tuesday or something, so it's a school day. He gets up at 6 a.m., or is kind of woken up by his dog, because his dog is kind of sleeps with him and it kind of wakes him up anyways. He goes downstairs, put the harness on his dog, and they're walking outside. And Jay is walking down the path of his house, and that's when he notices movement in the backyard. So Jay, like, for a second is like, okay, this is a bear. So he very quickly, gets the dog and, like, puts the dog back inside. And Jay, like, slowly creeps outside. This was a bad idea. Jay is telling me to tell you guys because he submitted this story via Instagram. You guys can do the same. It's at Connor Pugs. It's in the description. Send me your stories. But Jay added a little note in the story he sent me saying, do not do this. Like, if you see a bear, go inside and protect yourself. Like, they're not going to try and harm you. But if it's a mama bear and there's a baby bear, she will go kaboom to your face. So just a warning. But anyways, Jay decided that he wanted to go and check it out. So he's sneaking around in the backyard, trying to figure out where this big bear is, right? But Jay sees something much more startling, and some people might even say much more frightening. He sees the Karen wandering around, looking through his backyard, and, like, looking into the windows. Like, she's in the back of his house, like, looking at stuff, and, like, peeking into the windows of his house. And Jay is like, he says, hey, like, what are you doing here? And the Karen, like, very startled, looks up and is like, stop being aggressive. And like Jay's like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm just really confused why you're here. Like, you didn't seem very happy to see us yesterday, and now you're just wandering in our backyard. She's like, are you stalking me? And Jay's like, bro, am I stalking you? I mean, here's the thing. I was just walking my dog, and I thought I saw movement in the back. So I checked out the movement, and you're the one who's sneakily looking into our windows at 6 in the morning. Like, you tell me who's stalking who. And the Karen's like, I do not like that attitude, mister. I am your elder, and you shall respect me. And I don't like how aggressive you've been to me so far. And not Andrew, sorry. What's his name? Jay? Yeah, Jay's like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't think I've been that aggressive. Like, I've really just been, like, pretty respectful, especially for the fact since, you know, you're the one, like, sneaking in my backyard. You're the one spying into my house. And that's when Jay kind of, like, let her hat it and be like, hey, like, when we came over yesterday, because at this point, like, Jay kind of caught her in a position of, like, spying on them. He's like, hey, when you came over yesterday, like, you know, all we wanted to do was, like, oh, we're sorry if we startled you or something. But all we wanted to do was just say hello, ask if you needed anything, and give you a gift that we worked on today. And you said that you were going to call the police if we didn't go in the next 5 seconds. Like, that's pretty mad disrespectful. And then I find you... Yeah, low-key Jay's going off. And he's like, and then I find you in my backyard? Like, that's crazy. And the Karen's like, don't have that tone with me, young man. You're lucky I'm not calling the police on you for being aggressive. and Jay's like, aggressive, bro? Like, what are you saying? What does that even mean? And the Karen starts walking away. She's like, you're lucky I don't say anything. So, yeah, anyways, Jay goes ahead and gets the dog from inside because the dog is safe. There's no there's no bear outside. There is a scary Karen, though. And if this was a different Karen, like in some of my other stories, she might have tried to steal, Jay's dog. But this is not a dog-stealing Karen. This is a phone-stealing Karen, as you'll see very soon. Anyways, after Jay walks his dog, his parents get up like 10, 15 minutes later, and Jay informs them what he saw. And, Jay's mom is like, kind of disturbed by this. She's like, that's really weird. Like, I understand it if this woman wants to explore the neighborhood as she just moved in. I think I'd probably do the same thing. But creeping in someone's lawn and peering into their windows is just a whole nother level. So yeah, they didn't really think this Karen was some, some mastermind serial killer type person. They just thought that she was super, super nosy, like wanted to know everything about their neighbors when the neighbors weren't even awake, peering into their house to get more information. However, that's fine if you want to look at someone's house from afar. However, sneaking around creepily in their backyard, that's just never okay under any circumstances, in my opinion. Yeah, but anyways, right, Jay kind of thought that, okay, so the night before, or the day before, Jay was pretty sure that was going to be his last Karen encounter. But now Jay kind of had a sneaking suspicion that he was going to have a lot of Karen encounters in his future. So skip ahead a couple days. It is a Friday. Actually, no, Saturday. It's a weekend. It is a Saturday. It is a Saturday afternoon. And, Jay's parents ask him to water the plants in the front. So Jay very happily does it. But he also is a little bit afraid of getting his phone wet because it's not one of the more waterproof iPhones or Androids or whatever. So he decides to put his phone down on the driveway. And then he gets the hose or whatever, starts watering the plants. He doesn't have any music in just because he doesn't have headphones or he doesn't have wireless earbuds, AirPods, whatever you want to call them, right? So he can't really listen to music, which is actually super helpful to him because he can now hear his surroundings, which normally that wouldn't really matter. But when you're dealing with a crazy Karen, that always matters, bro. So anyways, right, he's just watering the plants at this point and he hears some rustling behind him and he looks behind him and he sees the tree moving. And the tree moved because the Karen pushed past it. And what did the Karen do? The Karen was in the process of bending over, picking up his phone. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, do me a favor and comment Karen down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I will try and heart a bunch of comments to say Karen. So if you want to farm some hearts and try and become top commenter on the channel, commenting Karen is one of the best ways to do it. And also one of the best ways to support the channel and help the channel grow, and I have been seeing you guys doing this and I really appreciate it, is literally just sitting down and binge watching old videos. Just old stories on the channel that I posted earlier, right? A really easy way to do this is to watch my Storytime playlist, which has literally every story I've ever made
It is in the pinned comment down below. So after you're done watching this, if you want to put on the playlist while you're, I don't know, playing a video game, drawing, trying to go to sleep, make sure to go ahead and do that. And let me know in the comment section exactly what you're doing while listening to my stories. It's so cool for me to read exactly what you guys are doing while listening. So yeah, anyways, let's get back to the story. So right, just a little recap. Jay is watering his plants. He puts his phone down kind of far away, just so that he can like make sure he doesn't get his phone wet, because the last thing Jay wants is to have to like break his phone, or to break his phone and then have to go and replace it and then all that nonsense. Jay's just not trying to do any of that, right? So yeah, Jay turns around when he hears a noise to see that Karen is picking up his phone. And Jay, who turns off the water, is like, "What are you doing?" And the Karen looks at him, turns around, and starts running back to the house. I have running in quotation marks. This is not any like body shaming type thing, but the Karen was definitely not built like a track star. The Karen was not built like an Olympic athlete. The Karen was not the most athletic sprinter. She would definitely not do that well in a mile run. She might clock a 60 minutes in a mile. I really don't know. But yeah, so the Karen ran, or kind of fell forwards towards her house. But yeah, she was far enough away and she was close enough to the house that by the time that Jay kind of ran over to her, the Karen was able to slip into her house and close the door behind her. And Jay was standing on the thing and started ringing the doorbell. And the Karen's like, "Stop ringing my doorbell." And Jay's like, "Give me back my phone." And she says, "No." And Jay's like, "Why did you take my phone?" Because Jay was genuinely confused. Look, this woman obviously doesn't like him and his family that much. And she seems to be interested in them a little bit too much, but like, wouldn't she just want to like deal with her own stuff? Like, Jay could kind of understand, I don't know, snooping on them because she's a nosy neighbor, even though she went to a pretty big extreme, right? But Jay just can't understand why she'd want to steal his iPhone. Like, that literally makes no sense. So the Karen responds, "Well, I know that your parents aren't giving you proper discipline just by the way that you're always aggressive and hating on me and disrespecting me. So I decided that I needed to do that in my own hands." And Jay's like, "What?" And she's like, "Yeah, like, your parents don't give you proper punishments. They're letting you do anything and be a little criminal by harassing me. So I decided that I will be the one giving you the punishment by stealing your phone." And Jay is just like, at this point, bro, Jay is just trying to comprehend the Karen logic, because there is normal person logic and then Karen logic. Don't even try and follow Karen logic. It will actually scramble your brain if you even attempt to understand what a Karen is trying to say. That's just from personal experience. I want to save you guys the last remaining brain cells you have after watching my other Karen videos. So yeah, don't even try and attempt to figure out Karen logic. It will literally destroy. You will no longer have an internal monologue inside your brain. You will have just emptiness in there after you try and understand a Karen logic. Anyways, right? So at this point, Jay is kind of just like, "Okay, no, that's not how it works. Like, my parents are actually fairly strict, and my disrespecting you is simply telling you to, like, get off my property when you were snooping on it." And the Karen's like, "Exactly, get off my property." And, you know, at this point, Jay's like, "Not until you give me back my property." And that's when the Karen says, "You know, if you don't get off my property right now, I've threatened to call the police before, and I will call them now. I actually wrote over to the office. I sent them an email saying that my neighbors were very threatening. So they're going to be here in literally 30 seconds if I want them to." And Jay's like, in his head, he's like, "Okay, that is definitely not true. Even if you did send in that email saying that we seem threatening, I can almost guarantee you that they're not going to be over here in a quote-unquote 30-second period. Like, okay, ma'am. Calm down. Relax. That's not true." Yeah, but anyways, right, so Jay's like, "All right, well, when they come over here, I will tell them that you took my property." And the Karen's like, starts laughing, and I'm not even trying to do a Karen laugh. It's late at night. I'm tired. I don't even want to put myself through it, bro. But just imagine a very cringy, awkward Karen laugh. And then she follows it up by saying, "You don't understand. You're breaking the law by being on my property, and I'm not breaking any law. I'm literally I'm issuing a punishment to a minor who is disrespecting an elder." And at this point, like, Jay's like, "Wait, bro, what? Like, you don't understand that, like, you have my property." And she says, "Yeah,
but it's the form of punishment, and that's totally okay under the law. Citizens arrest on your iPhone. And Jay's like, bro, I'm like in 8th grade, and even I know that this is ridiculous, right? You can't perform first of all, citizens arrest is not really a real thing. I don't know if it's actually a real thing, guys. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge. But bro, if anyone tries to citizens arrest me, I'm just going to walk away and hope that they like, I don't know, run out of breath trying to like wobble towards me. But yeah, imagine like thinking that citizens arrest is real and also thinking that you can citizens arrest someone's property. So yeah, can I just citizens arrest all the money out of your bank account and then just not give it back? Hold it all up in litigation in the court system? Like, what are we talking about right now, Karen? So at this point, Jay says, fine, you know what? That's not true, but fine. Go ahead and call the police. So the Karen, once again, does her, like, cringy, evil Karen laugh and is like, you will see who is actually right here. I don't know why the Karen was so confident that she could just steal someone's iPhone and not have to worry about it. But yeah, anyway, she calls up the police, and in about, like, 20 minutes, right, they come. Because they probably put her on a list of, like, probably, like, the former police department of wherever she used to live, sent a record to, like, the new police department saying, this woman has called in 100,000 times, saying that the corgi next door is trying to assassinate her, saying that the woman down the street has plots to, like, I don't know, eat her children, bro. Like, don't listen to her. Like, this is, like, the number one Karen. Just show up an hour late or something. I don't know. So, yeah, the police officers eventually show up, and the Karen immediately starts screaming at them, saying, you guys are 20 minutes late. I expected you to be here in 30 seconds. This young man is harassing me on my own property. And the police officers turn to Jay and is like, is this true? Like, what's your side of the story? And Jay says, okay, so this woman doesn't like us that much. Like, we caught her also earlier today, like earlier this week, snooping around on our property, looking into our windows. We don't really care, but I mean, it's not that cool to do it. But what happened today was I was watering my plants. I put my phone down, and the Karen over here, or says her name, or like this woman over here, walked over and stole my iPhone and ran into her house. She currently has my iPhone in there. Like, I ran up here to try and reason with her, and she said that, like, she can steal my iPhone because it is issuing a form of punishment to me, but that I can't be on her lawn because I'm, like, trespassing, and it's her property, and that she's performing citizen's arrest on my iPhone. And the police officers kind of look at each other like, citizen's arrest on her iPhone? What? Right? They're kind of just looking at each other like, dude, what is going on right now? So they look they look towards the Karen, right? Because the Karen is behind this, like, glass. But you can hear her pretty well. They're like, ma'am, can you step out here for a second? And she's like, so I can witness you give punishment to this kid? Absolutely. She opens up the door, walks through, and she's like, sure, officers. What's the punishment? The chair? Okay, she doesn't actually say, is this kid getting the chair for disrespecting my authority, right? She's like, all right, so she kind of, like, walks out all excited to see this kid, quote-unquote, get punished. But the truth is, really, she's just about to play herself. Because the officers, instead of turning to the kid and saying, all right, well, we're going to sentence you to death. Instead, right, the officers look at the Karen and just ask her, do you have this kid's phone? Did you take it from him? And, like, at this point, Jay was kind of expecting that the Karen was going to be like, no, he's making that up. And also, you can't search my house without a warrant. Basically being, like, hiding his phone inside or something. But instead, I think the Karen was, like, so, like, ridiculous that she actually believed that she could issue punishment to this kid. Like, that she could actually be the one who could be, like, punishing this kid by taking his phone. So she's like, yes, in fact, I took his phone because, you know, he deserved the punishment. Like, I'm sure you're off. She's like, I'm sure you guys can understand. And once again, the officers look at each other and, like, raise an eyebrow to each other, like, kind of like the Rock meme where it's like, and he's, like, raises up his eyebrow. And then they turn back to the Karen. They're like, ma'am, you can't take someone's property. And she's like, well, I mean, normally, you know, but what you guys don't understand is that I was issuing a punishment to this kid. You don't understand. This kid is the worst, and he deserves to be punished. And once again, the officers look at each other and are kind of just thinking to themselves, like, oh my God, okay, we actually have to deal with this today. Like, are you serious right now, bro? Like, are you serious, bro? Really? 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 Is this what we're doing? Is this our lives right now? Is this what we signed up for? Dealing with, like, old women that are just trying to, like, accuse everyone of everything, always, forever. Like, bro, are you serious? But anyways, they're like, ma'am, please give back the phone. And she's like, no. And they're like, ma'am, well, will you at least give the phone to us? And she's like, sure. Because I think that Karen believed that, like, these, like, police officers were going to, I don't know, take the phone and, like, take out their guns and, like, shoot the phone into 1,000 pieces and be like, that's what you get for disrespecting your elders, kid. And then Jay was going to go home crying and then come back the next day with a basket of flowers being like, Miss Karen, I'll never disrespect you again. I'll do anything you say. Let me kiss your feet. But what actually happened with the officers, immediately as they got the phone, they handed it back to Jay. And the Karen's like, what are you doing right now? This is treasonous, which is just not the definition of treason, but I'm not even going into that right now. And yeah, the officers are like, ma'am, you have no right to take any of his stuff. He doesn't have any right to take any of your stuff either. But yeah, it goes both ways. Like, can you please not call back if it's something like this? And she's like, not call back? I feel threatened by the fact that he's here. And they're like, ma'am, he was here because you took something of his. And she's like, well, I was just issuing a punishment. And they're like, ma'am, we've already gone over this. You know what? We wasted enough time. You know, there might actually be people out there that need us. And because we had to come out here, you know, the offices are like, their resources are depleted. Like, you know, this is kind of ridiculous. Please call back only if it's something important. Goodbye. And they get in their car and they drive away. And as Jay's walking back to his house, the Karen is yelling at him like, you won't get away with this. You don't know. I have friends in powerful places. Which, what is that, bro? What does that even mean? I have friends in powerful places. Ma'am, you just moved here, bro. Like, what do you mean? Are you like the CEO of the world? Like, president of Earth is going to come and smite him or drone strike him, bro? Like, what? Yeah, so Jay kind of turns around and is like, okay, haha, whatever. And yeah, for the rest of the, because like this happened all a year ago, for the last year ever since then, Jay has had like minor issues, but nothing big enough to put into a story. However, Jay said he will DM me if the Karen does anything crazy again, so make sure to subscribe if you want more Karen stories or to be updated on this story when I do get a part 2. And also if you just like stories in general, and make sure, of course, if you want to support the channel, watch another video.
Click at the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of a Karen who calls the police because she thinks that I am trespassing on my own property. And yeah, when the police tell the Karen that like, oh no, this is actually his property, she breaks into my house to try and prove that I'm trespassing on my own property by trespassing on my property. This is one of the craziest Karen stories you'll hear in a while, so sit back, relax, subscribe if you're new, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's just jump right into it. So anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Aaron. So Aaron just moved into a new house in a new neighborhood with one of his college friends. So him and one of his college buddies both got jobs at the same, I don't know, is it like a bank or consulting firm or something? They're both making like pretty solid money. So they actually are able to move into a house together, which is pretty cool. They're basically, or renting, or what, I don't know. They either bought the house or they're renting it and have proof that they're renting it. Either way, they are legally in this house, right? And so they move in, they're moving their stuff in, and they see this woman, who is presumably their neighbor, looking over at them very suspiciously. And they kind of look, and Aaron decides to wave because he's like, you know, he's a nice, upstanding citizen who wants to be nice to his neighbors and be friendly and be a good individual. And the Karen looks at him, glares at him, and turns away. So Aaron kind of looks over at his friends, like, it looks like we got, like, looks over at his friend and says, hey, man, looks like we got some pretty friendly neighbors. And he's like, I don't know. She's probably just, like, old or set in her ways or something. It doesn't like new people in the neighborhood. It's going to be whatever. Little did they know, it was not going to be whatever, you know. It was going to be quite an ordeal. So anyways, right, a little bit later on, as they're moving in, they've fully moved in. They're getting set up. They're putting the stuff together. I think they're setting up their living room or whatever, hanging the windows, or did I just say hanging the windows? Hanging the paintings by the windows, getting the couch all put together, whatever, right? They hear a knock on the door, and this is not a polite, like, bop, bop, bop. This is a boom, 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 boom. FBI, open up. Kind of like one of those type of knocks, right? So they hear the knocks, and they go over to, at least, what I say his name was. Aaron? Yeah, we're going to call him Aaron. So Aaron decides to go over to the door just to see who it is. Opens it up, and it is the same lady that gave him a very grumpy look earlier on in the day.
And he's like, hey, ma'am, what's up? And in the middle of him saying, how's it going? She's like, I know that you're here illegally. And he kind of just looks at her and is like, what? Like, I really don't know what you're saying. And she's like, I know that you're not actually supposed to be here and that you're here illegally. You're squatting in this house. Basically, if you don't know what squatting is, when there's like an empty house that has no one in it, but it's like in between leases or something like that, people will go in and just live there. I don't think it's the most harmful thing ever, but it is technically illegal. You can't do it unless like you own or you're renting the property or whatever. And, but yeah, so the Karen thinks that these two are squatting, which first of all, if you're squatting, you're probably not going to move in you're not going to move in like an entire like house worth of furniture. You might move in like, I don't know, a bed or a sleeping bag or just like enough that you can like be here and also pack up and move quickly. Because the thing is, if you're squatting in a house, there's a decent chance that you're going to be asked to leave like at any moment, right? So you're not going to want to like move 1,000 items into the house. You're not going to want to move every item from your past, right? So anyways, yeah. Sure enough, the Karen continues on to blame them. Aaron at this point's like, ma'am, like, we're legally either, I don't know if they owned it or rented it. Let's just say that they owned it for the sake of the video. Either way, it's going to turn out the same way. He's like, we recently just bought this house. Like, we have proof of such or whatever. And she's like, I don't believe it. There is no way that you two could, like, be in a house like this. And he's like, well, we're not squatting, right? We're your neighbors. This is not a great first introduction, by the way. Like, sorry. This is not a great first introduction, bro. This is not a great first impression. Because, of course, the common saying is you can always make a first impression twice. Just kidding. You can only make it once, and this is the Karen's first introduction to them. This is their first impression of her. She's like, show me proof or you are squatters. And at this point, Aaron is kind of done with her nonsense. And to go and find like the deed or whatever, they did have it and they did have it with them. So they could in theory. But first of all, Aaron wasn't trying to put up with this Karen's demands of, oh, I demand you to do this. I demand you to do that. And also it would have taken like a decent amount of time, like 5 or 10 minutes of searching through stuff, not hours. This was not like going to the DMV. This was not a 10-year experience, right? But at the same time, it was going to take a second, and Aaron didn't want to give this lady any more attention than she deserved, which was literally no attention. She deserved not to be acknowledged, honestly. And so he says so. He says, I have the deed, but it would take me a second to get it, so I'm not showing it to you. I don't need to show it to you. I live here. I'm not squatting. And you'll definitely know that in 6 months when I'm still here. And the Karen's like, you just proved to me that you are a squatter. Well, guess what? You better start packing up now because you're finished. And the Karen literally takes the door and pulls it shut. Since instead of like him slamming the door on her, she literally slams the door reverse. She grabs the door from him and slams it shut. Because I bet she wanted to have kind of like a big period at the end of her sentence. And to do so, slam the door, slam the phone down when it wasn't like the phones we have today, like the old like ones that you actually put down to something. You could slam it by putting it down or whatever, but also a door. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever gotten mad at someone and you're just like, well, if that's how you feel, and then boom, you just slam the door. It's a pretty good way to end it. It definitely shows your point. But the Karen so desperately wanted to prove her point or whatever that she basically would just like pull the door from him and slammed it shut on her own side. So, Aaron at this point walks back to his friend and is like, bro, like we should, like this like woman came over and said that we're squatting. And his friend laughed a little bit. He's like, I don't know, man. Like, she says that she's going to go, like, find someone. So we might be doing something tonight. And his friend, first of all, both of them are exhausted from moving in. The moving process is really tiring. It's really annoying or whatever. So they, the thing they want to do is finish moving in, finish unpacking, which they haven't even done yet. They still have more stuff that they need to do. But the last thing they want to do is deal with the Karen neighbor right now. That is genuinely the last thing that they want to be dealing with. But anyways, they still have to deal with her because about an hour and a half later, give or take, they hear a knock on the door. But instead of like the knock they heard earlier from the Karen, which was the bum, 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 they actually heard a respectful but forceful bum, 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 kind of like a, figure of authority, but I'm not like a deranged lunatic like the Karen neighbor is. And sure enough, they see a police officer there. And you know who they see standing like 20 feet behind watching? The Karen. So the Karen very clearly called the cops, but she wasn't like brave enough, or she for some reason wasn't up there with him. Maybe he was like, ma'am, please step back. Ma'am. She was watching the whole thing from like 20 feet away, and she was like smiling maniacally. This woman was crazy and evil, bro. So yeah, the police officer's like, we got a report that you guys are, you don't own like the lease of this house, and that you're just moving in. So we just got to see proof of ownership or whatever. If it's gonna take you a second, that's fine. Not trying to rush you, but because we got a report, we do need to look into this. And at this point, Aaron's like, okay, like it'll take me a second to go find it, but can I at least ask this? Was it that lady back there that reported me? And the police officer turns around, and they're both looking at the Karen, and she's like, because she probably thinks that she just got him or whatever. Turns back around, he's like, I don't think I'm supposed to tell you, but I'm also not going to not say it was her. He kind of looked at him for a second, and Aaron looked back at him. And they both kind of like acknowledged that, yeah, this woman was crazy, and she definitely like reported them. But, you know, he's like, all right, well, I'll go get it. Because he doesn't want to tell the police officer, I'm not going to get it either. Because, like, just, bro, just do what he says at this point. Make it easier on both of you. So, yeah, sure enough, he goes up. He finds the deed or lease or whatever official document is necessary. He comes back down, and he hands it over to the officer. The officer looks at it, and is like, yep, this all checks out. And he walks away. And the Karen's like, are you going to arrest him? Officer, are you going to arrest him? And, you know, he's like, sorry, ma'am, like, no. I don't know if he says, sorry, ma'am. He might just be like, no, ma'am, we are not going to arrest this guy. He just showed us proof that he actually lives there. He is your neighbor legally. Like, he's not squatting. Have a good day. And the Karen's like, no, he definitely is squatting there. Whatever he showed you was a forged fake document. And the police officer's like, ma'am, you have no proof of that. I took a look at it. I've seen thousands of these documents. This one's legit. Like, no one actually forges these things. And if they did, I would have noticed. This is a legit document. Go on with your day, ma'am. And the Karen looks very angry. And she walks right by the police officer, right up to the front door. And Aaron is starting to close the door because he's like, I'm not dealing with this. And she literally shoves her foot in to block the door, like a door stand or whatever. Not door stand, a door stopper. And Aaron's like, what? And she's like, I know that you're lying. I know that you're full of crap. I know that you made that up and that you're not actually my neighbor and that you're just squatting. And she's like, And Aaron's like, ma'am, how much more proof do you need? I just showed the police officer my document. And she said, show it to me. And he's like, I don't trust you. I'm not going to give it to you because you might run away with it or rip it up or do something weird with it. She's like, I'm your neighbor. I demand to see it and I legally have to. He's like, ma'am, you do not know the laws of this country, bro. I do not need to legally show you the document of proof that I'm living here. I already unnecessarily did that to the police officer that you called on me. The law has been enacted. I live here. She's like, we'll see about that. She turns around, walks away. So Aaron goes back, sits down. His friend's like, oh man, like, are we free yet? He's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what else she could possibly do at this point, but I got a feeling she's going to be a nuisance for a while. And Aaron's suspicion was 100% on the money because she wasn't just about to be a nuisance. She was about to be a full-fledged Karen criminal. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Karen down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. It's not very secret, I know, but it'll be the word of the day at least. I'll try and heart as many comments as I can if I got the time, and either way, just make sure to comment that down below. Also, just so you know, these videos are now being posted again on the Spotify. Sorry for the delay, but the Spotify link is down below. The shorts are on TikTok. The link to TikTok is down below, or it's at Connor Pugs if it's not a link. And finally, the best way you can support the channel, get us in the algorithm, and just help out the community is just watch a lot of my videos. It's not that hard, and it helps out more than you can ever imagine. So just when you're done with this or later on, go ahead and watch a bunch of my older videos. It really does help out the channel. And please let me know in the comment section down below how many of my older videos you've been watching, what you're doing while watching them, stuff like that. And I really love reading those comments and replying to some of them. All right, let's get back to it as the Karen's about to break the frickin' law, bro. Anyways. Yeah, so sure enough, at this point, Aaron and his friend are just chilling. They're relaxing. They haven't fully moved in because their plan was to fully move in, but they had a few interruptions by a few individuals that shall not be named. The Karen. But, God, I was trying to do a fake cough and ended up just hiccuping during it. I really hope I don't have the hiccups now, because that would make the recordings very annoying. Anyways, I think I'm good. Anyways, right, so Aaron and his friend, they're just hanging out. They're just doing whatever, watching a movie or something before they go to bed. And eventually, they decide to go to bed. They're tired. They call it quits early. And yeah, they're in their separate beds or whatever. And that's when his friend comes into Aaron's room at like 1 in the morning, right? It's pitch black. He's like shaking Aaron to wake him up. So Aaron just wakes up super startled. He's like, what's going on? He's like, man, there's someone in the house. There's someone in the house. So immediately, Aaron, he's like, all right. So he goes over, picks up his phone, dials 911, says, hey, we think that someone's in our house. We're calling now just as a precaution. Like, please show up. We'll let you know if it's nothing. Puts down the phone. Operator, asks for his house address or whatever. They got it. They're coming. So police are coming either way. And Aaron and his friend are like, okay, what do we do? And his friend's like, dude, we should just kind of hide out here. And Aaron's like, well, I kind of want to investigate. First of all, if you think someone's broken into your house, please do not investigate. Just a little warning, don't do that. So his friend's like, Aaron, bro, don't do that. Aaron's like, I just want to look. So Aaron kind of sneaks out and he hears banging coming from the kitchen area. Hears stuff being moved around. There's very clearly someone there. So Aaron turns around and is like, okay, yep, you're right. There is definitely someone in this house. Or maybe a bear broke in, because it kind of sounds like a bear broke in. But anyways, they go into their bedroom, they lock the door, and they just sit there, looking out the window, waiting for the cops to come. So a little while later, they see the blue lights of the cop cars show up, and the cops walk up to the front door. They bang on it a little bit. Then eventually, they break into the door or whatever, and they get in. And so Aaron is like, all right, do you think they got the guy? Because they're hearing hey, you right there, stop, freeze, or whatever. So after a little bit of scruffling, they didn't hear any gunshots or anything too crazy. So Aaron's like, okay, we can definitely go down and check it out now. And as Aaron's about to open up the door, he hears an officer yell, is anyone else in here? And Aaron yells back, yeah, we're the homeowners. We called this in. They're like, where are you located? He's like, come up the stairs or whatever. So he goes up to the officer comes up to the door of Aaron's bedroom or whatever. He looks through the peephole or the keyhole or whatever. Sure enough, it is the officer. So they're all good. They open it up and the officer's like, hey, can we see, are you guys the homeowners? And they're like, yeah. And they're actually like, wait a minute, let me just show you proof. They go over to their documents, and they show their driver's license and the documents of whoever owns the home, and the driver's license added up. Because look, if maybe 3 people invaded the house, and you can't just say, I'm the homeowner, and the police can't just be like, oh, okay. Bro, there's already someone broken into the house. So the police officer's like, the person who broke in is already downstairs. They've been apprehended. You're safe to go down. We actually are going to ask you come down and take a look at them just in case you recognize them. And Aaron did not for a single second think that he was going to see who he was about to see. It was about to be one of the biggest shocks of his life, or at least one of the biggest shocks he's had in a long, long time. So anyways, Aaron is walking down the stairs, and, the police officer, he's asking some questions. He's like, oh, what was it like? What happened? Police officer's like, yeah. So we broke in. Sorry, you have a little damage to the front door, but it somehow was locked or whatever, and they got in. So we had to break through the door. Sorry. And Aaron's like, well, that's $100 more I need to spend, but whatever, right? Thankfully, the guy's apprehended, or the guy, quote unquote, because you don't know who it is going to be. And he's like, yeah, we got there, and there's this person, and they were rummaging around stuff when we said freeze. They didn't really seem to run or have any weapons on them or anything. It was actually a very easy apprehension. They're actually downstairs. The other officer has them, in a corner, got them cuffed up, and we'll just ask them questions now. We can also take this outside if you'd like. And Aaron didn't really care. So they went downstairs, and Aaron and his roommate are walking down the stairs. They turn the corner, and Aaron sees the Karen in handcuffs in the corner next to the other officer. And Aaron is just like, there's no way. He legit says that out loud. So the officer turns to him and says, oh, so you know this woman? He's like, yes, I've had a brief but terrible history with her. And he's like, oh. So Aaron goes on to explain that that they moved in today. The officer's like, sorry that you're already having this happening, like one day moving in. Like, this is a pretty safe neighborhood. This normally doesn't happen. And he goes on to say, like, okay, well, the reason for this. So Aaron goes on to explain that, like, yeah, this woman came over, said that he was, like, squatting in the house when he actually wasn't squatting in the house, and that she called the cops on him, and that they showed proof.
Oh my
that
God, Connor Pugs. I got myself a Manscaped, and it is absolutely amazing. There are absolutely no nicks or scrapes, and it is just beautiful. And I used your code. What's your
Pugs
code? 20,
of course, use that code.
20, and
You
I got
love to see it.
20% off.
You got
It was
20
amazing.
whole percent off. That's what I'm saying.
20% off.
You
What
know
a
what?
deal.
You know I got you. You know I got you with
Thanks,
that.
man. I love you.
I got you. Anyways, after that very real and normal interaction, so yeah, he goes on to explain to the officers that, yeah, this Karen's been after him for a while. This is not his first rodeo with this Karen. And that she actually said after the police officer came earlier that checked his registration or whatever it was. He checked his something, and it was like kind of proof that it was good. The Karen said that like she didn't believe him and that she was going to like take into her own hands. And the officer and him, I guess, deduced that the Karen was rummaging around their house after breaking in and trespassing to try and find the deed to kind of prove that it was fake or whatever, to take a photo or prove herself like she would know what it would look like. But yeah, the Karen accused him of breaking the law, but the Karen herself ended up breaking the law. So the officers asked if, like, you know, he wanted to press any charges, and Aaron said no, but on some conditions. And the conditions were basically that if the Karen broke in again, then yes, there would be consequences. And also just the police officers to explain to the Karen that there would be serious consequences if she did anything else like this, and to pound it through her head that they actually lived there. Right? They actually live there. Like, come on now. Is it really that hard to believe that? So yeah, moral of the story is don't be a Karen. What's up, guys? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a crazy story of a Karen who thinks that the laws don't apply to her. So she starts breaking laws in front of the police officers. And let me just say that this is one of the most wild Karen stories I have ever received. And I know you'll enjoy it. So sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Aiden. So anyways, Aiden was about 17, 18 at the time, and over the summer, he got a summer job working at this grocery store. So he didn't really have consistent hours, so sometimes he'd be working in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, and sometimes really late at night. Like, this was one of those grocery stores that was open practically 24 hours a day. I don't know if it was 24 hours, but he worked a very late shift when this story started. He was at a very late shift. So this was like, I don't know, 11, 12 at night. So you'd have a few people come in every like 20 minutes or so, but it really wasn't rush hour. And he was also the only person in the store, which makes this Karen story even more interesting because this Karen decides to come in and start some problems when it's only Aiden. Remember, this kid's like 17 and she's about to give him the hardest time possible. So it all started as what seemed like a normal night. But as all these stories go, they do not turn out to be normal nights. So anyways, Aiden was working at the cash register. He was also in charge of basically anything else going down at the store because he was the only one there. So if someone needed, like, if something needed to be put back or anything like that, he was in charge as he was the only one there. But he was mainly manning the cash register at this point. So all of a sudden, at like 12:15, no one else in the store, no one else working there, no one else getting stuff. He hears the door open, so he looks over and he sees this woman come in. This older woman. She looks very angry. She has a look. She just has a look on her face as soon as she walks in. She just has this kind of look that you know that she's going to be trouble. Like off the bat, you know that she's just going to be difficult. She's going to be a situation from, they know that she's going to be a situation from like the moment she walks in the door. That's honestly what it's looking like right now. So Aiden kind of looks at her as she very angrily walks up to his desk and he's like, all right, what's good? And she comes up and says, I would like to return this item. And she puts an item on his desk. And I don't know exactly what this item was, but I do have a description of it. It was beaten up, it was broken, it was heavily used. Aiden didn't even know if they sold it here, and she didn't have a receipt. Yeah, I'm going to say that again so I can let that sink in. The Karen was trying to return something that was clearly used so often that it's completely lost its function, whatever it is. It doesn't even look like something that Aiden sold at the store, and she also had no proof that she bought it from the store, aka receipt. So Aiden very calmly tells her, hey ma'am, we do have a return policy saying that it has to be in pretty good condition, and you also have to have proof of purchase, and this thing is definitely not in good condition. It doesn't look like you have any proof of purchase, and I don't even know if you're in the right store right now because I don't think we sell that here. And the Karen gives him this kind of look of how dare you question my authority? I'm your elder. You should do exactly what I say, no matter what type kind of look, right? So yeah, anyways, the Karen is just responds to him, I got this from the store and I have not used it. I only used it once and it didn't work. I just want my money back. And Aiden's could you tell me a description of this item? Because I'm telling you guys, it was so worn out and so used that Aiden couldn't even figure out what this was supposed to be. He didn't even know what to type into the computer to look up to try and figure out what it was, because it was so mangled and messed up and beaten up that he couldn't even tell you what it was supposed to be. He couldn't even get a good educated guess on it. That's how messed up it was. That's low-key one of the reasons why Aiden wasn't able to tell me what it was, because he genuinely couldn't even figure it out himself. This is when the Karen guy starts to get really mad. She's like, your business is scamming a local citizen by not giving the money, not giving a refund where the refund was clearly stated that you could get one. And Aiden says, yeah, we do have a refund policy, but it's also pretty clearly stated that you need a receipt to get the refund. And she's like, I just don't have it with me. And Aiden's like, oh, well, I'm sorry, but if you have it, even if you have it at home, we're going to need you to go back and get it. I know that's a bit of a trek, but it's his policy. I don't run the store. I just work here. I can't be doing stuff like that. And so, because Aiden was maybe going to be lenient if she had a receipt, and then he could at least type in the item and see if they actually had it. Because, Aiden was low-key trying to call her bluff because he was pretty confident that they did not sell whatever this was supposed to be. But she goes on to say, she just has a mental breakdown. It's well, how about you just give me my money and I'll get the receipt later, which is the most ridiculous thing ever. I get that she doesn't want to make the drive, but what if that, here's the thing. Let's say that you didn't want to make the drive. Wouldn't it just make sense for you to be you don't need the receipt here, just give me a refund, instead of saying, give me the money now, I'll drive back and get the receipt and bring it back to you. That literally makes no sense, bro. So yeah, Aiden kind of puts his foot down a little bit and explains to her, look, without the receipt, I can't even begin the process of trying to give you a refund. Not even talking about the state of this item right here, as he kind of motions towards the completely destroyed item, whatever it was. Not even to mention the state of this item. Just very generally, I don't think I can even start to give you a refund for this. So the Karen, something changes in her eyes. Something evil starts to brew behind those cold, dark eyes or whatever. And she's like, so, you've chosen to disrespect me. And he's like, so you have chosen to tarnish your elders. And he's kind of bro, what are you saying right now? I genuinely don't know what's going on. So, you have chosen. And he's like, all right, bro. Because he's like, all right, she's going on about something. I don't know what's going on right now, but it's not I can do anything about it. And she's like, so I'm going to enact citizens' justice. Bro, not even citizens' arrest, which is the goofiest thing that you only hear Karen say. Citizens' justice. I'm pretty sure that's just called breaking the law. Oh man, I'm just gonna enact my own justice. When has that ever been said and then something good follows it, bro? Actually give me a time and a place and I'll believe you, but until I hear it, I don't believe you, bro. So anyways, she turns and she starts walking down one of the aisles. And Aiden is so confused at this point, because he genuinely just has no idea what's going on. And sure enough, the Karen goes up to one of the aisles and says, are you gonna give me a refund? Yes or no? And obviously, he's not going to give her a refund, because why would he give her a refund at this point? she's giving him no reasons to give him a refund. Actually, she's given him so many reasons not to give him, like, to give her a refund at this point. And he's like, no, I still need to see your receipt to start the process. And then the Karen takes a big, like, okay, so I think it was like, let's just say it's a big rack of vegetable oil. It was a bunch of something, right? She takes a hand and plows through it all. It all falls on the ground, breaks open. Vegetable oil is spilling all over the floor. It's going everywhere. And she turns back to Aiden and just stares him down. And Aiden is pretty shocked at the moment because he had no idea that the Karen was going to start doing actual damage, right? And she's like, do I get a refund now, little guy? And Aiden is just like, whoa, this is out of my range. This is out of my expertise at this point. This was not in the how to be a cashier training. They did not prepare me for crazy Karens in my training, bro. That's all I'm going to say, is I was not prepared for something like this. So sure enough, he's like, ma'am, I'm going to ask you to leave. Because in his training, I think he was told to, like, if anyone's, like, doing damage or breaking the rules or whatever, you can ask them to leave. And she's like, I'm not leaving before I get my refund. Give me my refund in full, and I'll consider leaving. So not even I'll leave, but I'll consider leaving if you give me exactly what I want. She was probably even going to do a little bit more damage after that too, bro, for being honest. Yeah, but sure enough, he's like, no, like, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. So what the Karen does is she goes on and just, like, destroys something else. Like, I think she finds, like, something glass or something easy to break. She picks it up, boom, smashes it on the ground, takes another one, lifts it above her head and says, are you going to give me a refund now? And Aiden's like, no. Boom, smashes it on the ground again, picks up another one. Are you going to give me a refund now? Aiden just looks at her blankly. Boom, smashes on the ground. So you can see the pattern here. The Karen's just trying to destroy the entire place until she gets what she wants, right? So Aiden picks up the phone, dials 911, as, you know, you should at this point. Someone's breaking all your stuff and you're 16, 17, whatever, and no one else is there. Can't call for backup, can't call your manager, can't do any of that. So yeah, calls 911 and kind of explains the situation while big smashing and crashing noises are in the background. Okay, the dispatcher says that they'll have people there in 15 minutes, so just make sure the situation doesn't escalate. Which is I don't know, it's a pretty big ask to tell some 15-year-old, hey, I know you're in some crazy situation right now, but make sure that it doesn't escalate. Oh yeah, he'll just go back to his de-escalating a Karen training. You can't train for that, man. You can't de-escalate a Karen once they go full psycho Karen mode, bro. You can't de-escalate them, bro. Anyways, though, yeah, so he's kind of just behind the cash register, watching as this Karen goes around smashing stuff, saying, are you going to give me a refund now, little guy? Boom. You going to give me a refund now? Boom. But all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, I guess 20 minutes later, the doors open up and 2 police officers walk in to see the Karen breaking stuff and to see so much stuff on the ground, spilled, broken, all of the above, right? I mean, you can't really break, splattered, destroyed, whatever you want to call it. Depends on the item. You can't shatter like an apple, but you can smush it, right? So whatever it is, it's all been kind of destroyed. It's all been kind of wrecked. So the police officers come in, they're like, what's going on here? The Karen sees them, turns around, sees a supply closet or like a broom closet. Okay, when I say sprint, I mean sprint super liberally. I don't mean she's like, I don't know, Usain Bolt doing like a 1 second mile. I'm saying she like power waddles. Yeah, she power waddles to the, to the broom closet, gets in there and locks it behind her, which, why did the broom closet lock from the inside? Who knows? Aiden's like, oh, you gotta be kidding me, man. You gotta be kidding me. So police officers, one of them walks over to look over at all the damage and make sure the Karen doesn't escape. The other one goes over to Aiden, sorry, I think Aaron is the name of the last guy in the last Karen story, actually, and asks him, so can you give me a recap of what happened? So Aiden goes on to say, yeah, so I was just here, she came back with an item, this woman came in with an item, the woman in the closet right now. It was pretty beaten up, and she didn't have a receipt, and she was demanding a refund, and I basically told her that, well, one, her item was so like beat up and destroyed, I couldn't even tell if it came from here or not. But also, second, if she doesn't have a receipt, I can't even start the process to giving her a refund. So without the receipt, I couldn't even give her one. So she got really mad at this and started breaking stuff, demanding a refund. And by the time you guys came, she's like broken about a third of the store's items. Like, this is pretty crazy. I didn't want to intervene, though, because I don't know what this woman's capable of, or, you know, how deranged she really is. Police officer said, okay, son, you did the right thing calling us and trying to keep the situation as calm as possible. We'll take it from here. So they both go up, and actually, like, Aiden stays in the cash register, but this is a fairly small convenience store, so it's not, so he can't hear everything that goes on. So they go up to the broom closet, and they're like, ma'am, what's the meaning of all this? And she's like, that little rapscallion won't give me a refund on my items that I purchased from the store. He is stealing from the elders right now. And they're like, ma'am, first of all, he just works here. He can't make the rules. Second of all, it's pretty clearly stated, and there was a legit sign talking about refunds in the store. So it's not like the Karen had no idea at all. It was actually fairly clear. But anyways, they're like, ma'am, it's pretty clear from like what we're seeing, like, and they point to the sign, you do need like a receipt to get a refund. Like, that's just kind of the deal here. And she's like, well, he should have known. Like, I don't know, man. The Karen was just going on about something about how she deserved a refund and how it's so bad that she didn't get one or something. But yeah, I don't even know. And eventually they were like, ma'am, if you don't come here, or it's like, if you don't come out right now, we're going to go in there and get you for like, and I don't know, they say something along the lines of that. And that's when the Karen starts maniacally / evilly laughing. It is one of the weirdest, most off-putting, like, responses that Aiden could have ever heard. Like, it is the weirdest thing ever. The Karen just starts laughing hysterically, like an evil villain in a superhero movie when she's in the closet. And what she's about to say next is one of the craziest things Aiden has ever heard anyone ever say. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Karen down below. That'll be the secret word of the day. I like to see all the people who commented. I'll try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. Thank you, guys. Anyways, also, these videos are on Spotify, or I try and put as many of them as I possibly can. Links in the description. Also, follow my new TikTok, or it's the same TikTok, I guess. I'll be posting my shorts on there as well if you want to help out. And finally, the best way to support the channel is just to binge watch the videos. So at some point, sit down and just watch a bunch of my old story videos. Or maybe right after you're done watching this one to the end, you can just keep on watching more videos. I'll have a Storytime playlist in the pinned comment. That makes it real easy for you guys to watch. And please, 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 if you are binge watching the videos, make sure to comment down below telling me such so I can say thank you personally. Anyways, let's get back to the crazy Karen story. So anyways, a little recap. The Karen has ran into the broom supply closet, right? Because she sees the police and she knows she's about to be arrested. Aiden explains the whole situation to the police and explains it like, all right, this is what's going on. This is what's going down. And they're like, okay. They probably got on their walkie-talkie. We're like, we got a code 58, crazy Karen in a convenience store. I repeat, we got a code 58. I don't know if that's a real code or something, but let's just say for the sake of it, code 58 equals crazy Karen in convenience store. Typical situation they have to deal with on the daily at this point. But anyways, they go up to the Karen and they basically tell her, look, if you don't come out here and like, we're going to go into the supply closet. We're going to open that door if you don't open it yourself. And that's when the Karen starts laughing maniacally, which is one of the most off-putting responses you could have possibly heard. One of the most off-putting responses in general, right? So sure enough, the Karen is just laughing maniacally. And she says, you guys can't arrest me. You can't arrest me. And the police officers are just looking at her. And she says, you wouldn't dare arrest a woman. That is not very gentlemanly of you. So the Karen opens up the door and starts laughing. And the two police officers are just looking at each other. And they look back at the Karen, and then they look at each other, and then they look back at the Karen, and the Karen the Karen repeats herself and says, you guys wouldn't dare arrest a woman, so I'm gonna walk free, unless you want to be bad gentlemen. Bro was really raised in the 1700s or something, bro. I don't know what crossed her mind to think that that's actually what's gonna happen, but that is what's gonna happen, bro. Like, I was like, all right, word. So she walks out there, and the police officers are like, ma'am, you caused all this damage to the store. We are going to have to at least take you in for questioning. She's like, what? No, you wouldn't dare not be good, gentlemen. And they just kind of look at each other. And Aiden is just so floored by this response. He's just so... He's trying to figure out what's going on. Aiden's like, is this really her response? Is this really her get out of jail free card moment? Is saying that they wouldn't dare arrest her because she's a woman and they would not disrespect their manlyhood, or I don't freaking know, bro. But yeah, they basically say, I don't know if that's how that's going to work. So they turn her around, they take out the handcuffs, and she says, you wouldn't dare do that. And they both look at each other, and then they put on the handcuffs, and she's like, no, arrest him. And they both look at each other, the two police officers looking at each other like, bro, what did she just say? And she's like, arrest that guy behind the cash register, pointing to Aiden, or like motioning to Aiden because she's got her hands behind her back. It's a little hard to point to someone when you're in handcuffs with your hands behind your back. And they're just like, why? And she's like, he's robbing me of my refund. They're like, what? He's robbing me of my refund. And they're like, ma'am, you first of all, you know what, ma'am? No. Because they're not going to explain it to her for the 100th time of how, like, no, if you want a refund, you got to get your own receipt. And no, if he's not doing it, he just works for it. And they're done explaining it to the Karen. And as the Karen is being walked out, she looks at Aiden and looks at him dead in the eyes and says to him, this isn't over. Mark my words. And that was like one of the most chilling responses Aiden could have ever received. And let me just say, she did not lie. This was not over. And she was definitely not done. Unfortunately for Aiden, she was very much not done. Because she was about to return in the worst way possible. Fast forward 3 months. Aiden is still working here. It's like, it's kind of towards the tail end of the summer. So Aiden's like, this is like his last week or last 2 weeks or something. But he's almost done with what he's doing, right? And he's completely forgotten about the Karen incident. His manager came in the next day after the whole Karen incident, kind of gave him a thank you for handling the situation well. The shop actually closed down for a couple days to reassess or whatever. The Karen was like fined X number of dollars to repay for whatever, and she actually did, which is a little surprising, especially for what she's about to do. It's a little surprising she went through with it. She definitely had a change of heart, that's all I'm trying to say. But yeah, after about a week, they got the place up and running again, and Aiden was made like employee of the month or whatever out of the 3 employees they had. So wow, such an honor, man. But anyways, fast forward like 2 months later, 3 months later, whatever I said. This is like this is either the last week or second to last week that Aiden's working the shift. And, he just has completely forgotten about the whole Karen situation. And, he doesn't think much of it. He's kind of at the point where he's like, okay, I'm kind of wrapping things up. The Karen situation's in the back of his head at this point. And that's when he just happens to look out the window. And he just happens to look at a car that's pulling in. And he just happens to notice someone walking out of the car that looked oddly familiar. And he just happened to notice that the person who looked so oddly familiar was carrying a freaking baseball bat, bro. And that's when he realized that the reason why this person looked so familiar was that this was the Karen. Yeah, the Karen that got arrested and tried to destroy the entire store 3 months ago has returned in broad daylight with a freaking baseball bat, dude. So yeah, immediately Aiden calls 911. Because at this point, the Karen has been told never to return, and if she does, there's going to be trouble. And she's also returning with a baseball bat. So at this point, it just makes a lot of sense for Aiden to get ahead of the situation. So while he's on the phone, he explains, like, this woman has caused damage before. She's appeared in the parking lot with the baseball bat very suspiciously. I just would feel better if someone came, because I can almost guarantee something's about to go down. This is kind of a local police department. So I think the person even literally remembers what happened before. So, yeah, they're like, okay, yeah, we got you with this, don't worry about it. And, yeah, sure enough, the police are coming, but the police, it's gonna take like 15, 20 minutes. So Aiden's a little nervous right now, but there's another cashier there, he's not the only one at the store at the moment. So he yells at them, says, hey, we got trouble. Person comes up, he's like, oh my God, who's that? And Aiden looks at him and says, you know that Karen I was telling you about that one night? And the guy that Aiden's working with looks at him in a look of disbelief, like, no way that's the same person. And Aiden has to break the bad news that, yes, that is the same person, and that person is coming at them with a baseball bat. Yeah, not looking good for both of them right now. So anyways, right, they're both like, okay, what is she going to do? And the Karen makes eye contact with Aiden. Aiden makes eye contact with the Karen. And the Karen starts bursting out into laughter as she approaches the place with a baseball bat. Yeah, not looking really good right now. So she starts walking towards them with a baseball bat and goes up, like, opens up the door window and says, not the door window, opens up the door. And Aiden is staring at her. And the other person Aiden is working with has frozen as well and is just staring at her as well. And they're just looking at her. And she's just looking at them. And she has this big grin on her face. And let me just say that they do not have the same grin on their faces. To say the least, they do not have the same look of excitement and joy that the Karen is with them. They are not equally as happy that this is the case. Yeah, so they're all just making eye contact with the crazy deranged Karen who's standing in the door with a baseball bat right now. And she's just looking at them. And she says, you didn't think I'd be back. I told you. You should have given me that refund all that time ago. And now I'm taking my revenge. And immediately she turns to one of the windows. Boom! Hits it with the baseball bat. The window shatters. At this point, Aiden's real scared. Understandably. Because look, when the Karen was destroying stuff in the store, he was really afraid that it was going to get out of control. But at that point, she was really just breaking stuff with her fists and throwing it on the ground. Like, he really thought, okay, if the Karen comes swinging for me or something like that, it really wouldn't be that big of an issue because, like, I don't know, like, I'm not too scared. But now the Karen's coming in with an actual baseball bat. Like, that's kind of just a different story right there, bro. That's low-key just a different story. Like, if she swung at him and made contact, dude, that could do a lot of damage. I don't care if she's barely able to swing it. Like, I don't care if she doesn't have the strongest swing. I don't care if she's not, like, in the MLB. I don't care if she doesn't bench press 325, bro. It doesn't matter. She still has a baseball bat. That's a weapon right there. So Aiden kind of like backs up. He makes sure to keep his distance with the Karen, and him and his like coworker are trying to keep their distance, right? And they're just waiting on the police to come. So the Karen is yelling at them, should have given me my discount, should have given me my discount, while slamming the bat into windows, basically clean the cash register right off, because she took a clean shot of the cash register with her baseball bat. Boom, thing explodes, $10 bills fly everywhere. And then she starts going into the aisles, boom, boom, starts whacking stuff. And that's when the police officers get there. So the police officers get there, they're alerted about the Karen, and I think one of them was actually there last time. So they know about the Karen. And they see her swinging around a full-fledged freaking baseball bat. So they're definitely on edge at this point. And they're just like, freeze! And the Karen turns around, looking all deranged and crazy, with an actual baseball bat, right? She has a baseball bat out, that's pretty bad. So they're looking at her, and she looks at them, and she says, make me, which was probably one of the worst responses that you could have given to two police officers when you're holding a baseball bat, because one of them does make her, pulls out the taser, which, I mean, look, you got someone swinging around a baseball bat. I'm not going in to sit down to have a polite conversation either. I get where he's coming from. Taser, zaps her, immediately goes to the ground. I mean, this Karen isn't like some kind of like Iron Man, like, and he was hit with 2 bullets, and he stood there unfazed, like cue whatever music. No. I mean, if you're hit with a taser, you're going down, bro. So yeah, Karen collapses, baseball bat goes on the ground. One of the police officers rushes over to like separate her from the baseball bat, puts her in handcuffs, checks her to make sure she doesn't have like any other weapons or something like that. She does not. The other police officer goes over to, once making sure that the Karen is like contained or whatever, goes over to Aiden and his coworkers, ask, hey, are you good? Did she hit you with a bat? Are there any damages to you or whatever? You guys good? They basically say, yeah, we're safe. Like, we always kept our distance or whatever. And, yeah, one of the police officers who was there last time is like, is this really the same woman that was here like 3 months ago? And, at this point, Aiden recognized this guy from being there 3 months ago. He's like, yeah, this is the same woman. I haven't seen, and, he says, have you seen her over the last like 2 or 3 months or however long ago it was? And he says, no, like I have legitimately not seen her since. She also, the money went through that like she was charged for all the damages she did. She paid it through. So we kind of thought that we'd never see her again, but I guess not. So yeah, the police like take her away. Obviously this was a lot more serious. I don't know exactly what the charges were, as I wasn't told exactly. Because remember, this convenience store wasn't some big chain. It was like a mom and pop type location. So they were actually able, through insurance or whatever, somehow they got the money back. They had to close down again for a second because now there's broken glass and windows and destroyed stuff. And yeah, the Karen was now very, very much, she was in bigger trouble. I don't know exactly what. I would assume that she served some jail time for that. I doubt she got off on like the second time, because like that time she was swinging on them with a bat. Like that's some serious stuff you're doing right there. But yeah, moral of the story is, I don't know, don't be a Karen, bro. Yeah, subscribe if you're new, watch another
Click on the
to
video on
support the
screen
channel.
right now. I
Peace.
know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new story. Today we have a story of a Karen who goes up to someone and says, let me speak to the manager, and that person is the manager, and they're able to put that Karen in her place. However, the Karen decides that she is going to take the law into her own hands. She fights a bunch of employees. She tries to steal. She tries to fight the cop. Overall, it's a pretty great Karen story. So sit back, relax, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Alex. So Alex was actually recently promoted to store manager. And this was like one of the, some kind of like not a convenience store, but it was like a home goods store in a sense. So it had those type of items. And Alex had worked there for a little bit, and he went to school, like some kind of business school or whatever. And he, at night or something like that, and he was able to but he was able to move up the ladder to manager of the store, which is a pretty big deal. And he was pretty excited about it. So he had a pretty crazy Karen encounter, like a really crazy Karen encounter, on the first month of him being manager of the store. So this all started on what felt like a normal day, which I mean, all these stories really do start on what seems like a normal day, which turns into a less so normal day, turns into a story-worthy day. This all started on what felt like a normal day. And it was about 2 in the afternoon, and Alex, the store manager, was working back in his little office or whatever, checking up on inventories, looking at balance sheets, whatever store managers do. And basically, right, the rest, a little bit of the story is from the perspective of a cashier. So I will give you that perspective now. And just so you know, it's the cashier told Alex, the manager, about this. So anyways, this Karen walks into the store, and she goes around and she finds an item that she really wants. And she goes up to the cashier and she goes to checkout. And while he's ringing up the item, the Karen is fishing around in her purse. And the Karen pulls out this receipt, this coupon, old, crinkly, really old, whatever, right? But at the end of the day, a coupon is a coupon. It doesn't need to be in prime condition to be used. However, the coupon has an expiration date. Some coupons are kind of unlimited, but some of them do have expiration dates. This one very clearly had an expiration date of 1 year ago. So she hands it over to the cashier, and he looks at it. He's like, ma'am, so sorry. I can't take this coupon. It expired a year ago. Would you still like to purchase these items? And the Karen looked at him and says, I handed you a coupon. I saved the coupon for when I wanted the item. I want the item, so I should get the percentage off. And at this point, the cashier's like, look, I don't write the rules here. Personally, I think I would have given you the discount, but I can't like run into the system and expired like a coupon. It literally won't work. Like even if the cashier wanted to give her the discount, he can't just plug in minus 30% for no good reason. He needs to scan the coupon, and if the coupon doesn't scan, the coupon doesn't scan, man. So he tries to explain that. The Karen is not hearing it. The Karen, all the words go in one ear and they float out the other. And she eventually goes to the classic, tried and true, the most Karen-y line of all time. She demands to speak to his manager. And this is where we have the subscriber come in. So anyways, Alex, the subscriber, the manager of this kind of business or whatever, this, you don't call it a chain if it's not a restaurant, right? He'll be sitting there doing his whatever, his little spreadsheets or something, when he hears a knock on the door. He says, come in, and he sees the cashier walk in. He's like, oh, how's it going? This was kind of a newer cashier, signed him 2 weeks ago. I mean, Alex is pretty new too, but this guy was even newer. He says, hey, we got a little situation. Someone wants to speak to you for some issues regarding an expired coupon. And Alex was kind of looking at him like, look, is there any way you can tell her, like, the company policy is company policy? And because I'm a little busy right now. Because he was a little busy right now, right? So the cashier's like, all right, I'll try and do that. 2 minutes later, the cashier, Alex is sitting there trying to balance his budget or whatever, figure out, like, what goes in the little bubbles, and he hears another knock on his door. He's like, okay, come in. It's the same guy, the same cashier comes in. And basically what happened is he went back to the Karen, tried to explain that the manager was a little busy, but he said that, oh, well, I don't know. Company policy is company policy. And it turns out the Karen started to get really mad at him and demanded that she said that she would not move her spot in line until she was able to speak to someone of authority, aka his manager. So yeah, she was starting to cause a scene, and she was also backing up one of 2 cash registers. People were moving to the other line, but now the other line was getting super long, and like the one person standing behind the Karen was starting to lose his mind or whatever. So eventually, the manager walks out. And the manager and the cash register, the manager and the cashier, no, the cash register did not sprout a bunch of legs and started walking around and having sentient thoughts and, doomsday scenarios puncture his daily thoughts, his consciousness every second. But, so the cashier and the manager, I'm just calling the cash register again, they walk over to Karen. And the Karen is just looking at them. And the Karen, is like, I would like to speak to the manager, please. And the manager's like, hello. And the Karen looks at him and says, I would like to speak to the manager because, Alex was a little bit younger. He was in his late 20s. I think for some reason the Karen thought that the manager of this home goods store was going to be some like slicked hair, super fancy suit, billionaire type with like one of those little Monopoly man mustaches and a cane or something. Bro, it's a manager of a home goods store. It's not the Monopoly man. I don't know what your expectations are. So this is where Alex is able to say probably one of the most satisfying things. I'm the manager, ma'am. And she's like, oh, well, then you'll be able to sort this issue out quite quickly. So you see here, I have a coupon. And your cashier, I'm calling him a cash register again. What am I doing? Your cashier over here, he's not giving me the entailed 30% off this item. And the manager looks at the coupon and says, well, looks like it says it expired over a year ago. Sorry, it's simply company policy. We can't give you we just can't do that. I think maybe the manager would have been a little bit more generous or maybe would have allowed this to happen if the Karen wasn't the absolute worst about it, wasn't causing a scene, wasn't super demanding, wasn't basically being a big Karen because, the manager, Alex, has only been the manager for about a month, but he's lived for like 28 years. He's encountered his fair share of Karens, and he knows that they all work about the same. So he basically told her no. The Karen, not being able to ask for his manager as he is the manager, and that would be a recursive call, is like, all right, whatever. Fine. The Karen's like, well, I'm not coming back to this store anytime soon. And, Alex hates to hear that, but what is he going to do about it? Karen puts the items, Karen does not put the items back. The Karen shoves the items into the cashier's hands and storms out the building as the cashier puts the items back. You guys might be thinking, well, that's the end of the Karen story. Connor, that wasn't that crazy of a Karen story. Hold on. That was literally just the introduction to the craziest Karen story ever. All right, strap yourselves in, prepare, and let's jump into it. So anyways, the next day, the Karen returns to the store, and the cashier notices this. And also, the manager notices this because the manager was talking with one of the other cashiers for some reason, maybe about checking inventories, or I have no idea. But he's out of his office, and he recognizes the woman who stormed out saying that she would never come back to this store ever, is back in the store. Very interesting. She goes to the aisle where the item where she wanted a discount was on, grabs the item, and instead of heading towards the cash register, or cash registers, she is bolting it towards the door. So immediately they're all like, hey, yo, whoa, 1 second here. And they all kind of like, the manager, Alex, kind of motions to one of his like cashiers to like follow him. And they both walk over to the door, and the Karen is going like stomping right towards them, kind of doing those Nico Cavo avocado like waddle walks or whatever he does. You know what I'm talking about. If you've seen it, you've seen it. Doing one of those, going full steam ahead towards them. And they're kind of like, hold on, ma'am. Where are we going over here? Like, what's going on? And she's like, out of my way. Since you guys wouldn't give me the 30% off, I'm taking the law into my own hands. And I'm taking this for 100% off. Because of all the emotional trauma you caused me, that's going to be the other 70%. And the other 30% is the 30% I deserved in the first place. And she tries to push by them. So obviously Alex and the cashier, they don't slam her to the ground. They don't drop kick the Karen as much as they might have wanted to. They literally just stand there. And the Karen starts pushing through them. And she starts screaming, I'm being assaulted by these gentlemen. And people in the store kind of turn around, because when a woman screams that, you're going to take a look and maybe intervene if she actually is, right? And but no. They all see this woman, this Karen, trying to push through, and like literally Alex and the other cashier have their hands up above them just to prove that they aren't doing anything. They're literally just standing in front of her. And they're like, ma'am, you cannot steal an item from the store. If you put that away, we will let you go. And she's like, no. And she takes the item. It wasn't like a brick or something, but it wasn't like a box of tissues. And she whacks the cashier in the head with it. Cashier kind of folds down a little bit, and Alex, the manager, is like, whoa, because like at this point, Alex, the manager, just kind of assumed that, oh, typical Karen behavior, and then all of a sudden, she just clocks one of his employees in the head, dude. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Karen down below. And also, we're on Spotify, we're on TikTok, and some other places. Links in the description. Make sure to follow me there. Finally, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do so is to, after this video, go ahead and watch some of my other story videos that I've made. A really easy way to do this, or to binge my older story videos, is to go to the Storytime playlist in the pinned comment down below. Let me know in the comment section if you are doing this, so I can personally say thank you. Anyways, though, that kind of reminded me of like the PBS Kids. Thank you to viewers like you. If you watched it, if you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. But anyways, right? So, yeah, Alex, the manager, is looking at his employee who just got clocked in the head by something. The employee's doing all right, but he's like, oh, God, I mean, she just assaulted this employee, man. So Alex, the manager, like looks at someone and says, close down the store. And he goes over, and there's, like, a button or something. It's not, like, a button that, like, a metal sheet falls down, but, like, it wasn't a button. He went to the door and, like, locked it up from the inside, like one would do when you're closing up shop, right? So all of a sudden, all like the employees or whatever are at the door area. One of them was instructed to call 911, and the Karen right now, it's like an MMA fight, bro. It's like they're in the boxing ring with the Karen, because the Karen just has the item in her hand, and she's swinging. She's just going around like that. She's just like swinging on people. Thankfully, she's not a trained fighter, so she's swinging and missing, swinging, missing, swinging, missing, swinging, going off balance, stumbling backwards, swinging, missing again. But the whole time, she's just swinging, just like whatever. She's trying to hit people. She hit the cashier first. They also got this all on videotape, which kind of important later on, because eventually the police get there and they open up the door and let them in. Police officers are like, what is going on here? And the Karen's like, these men have been assaulting me. These men are attacking me. Help me, officers. And the officers are like, well, we've been told a pretty different story, ma'am. We've been told that, you've been swinging on them with this item, and they point to the item in her hand, and you specifically hit one of the cashiers, and looks at the cashier, who has kind of now an ice pack on his head. It's pretty clear that the Karen is in the wrong on this one, but the Karen, being a Karen, doesn't know when to let go. Doesn't know when she's lost. You know what I mean? She just keeps going for it. She's kind of just like, screw it. I'm just going to keep going for it. I really don't care. So sure enough, the Karen is like, no, you don't understand. You need to understand that, you don't understand, bro. You don't get it. You don't, you arrest him. This guy over here, and points to Alex, and they all kind of turn to Alex. He has been disrespectful to his elders. And police officers kind of looking at each other like, bro, what? This woman really just asked me to arrest someone for being disrespectful to their elders. And they turn to them, they're like, ma'am, please calm down. And she's like, I will never calm down. And she takes the item and she literally chucks it at one of the police officers' heads. And the police officer is paying attention enough that he dodges it. But the other officer looks at him. He's like, are you good? He's like, yeah, I dodged it. And they look over and the Karen is power waddling, not running, let's be real here, power waddling away into the aisles. So the officers are like, ma'am, come back here. They're not going to chase her down. See, she isn't some hardened criminal who's going to be able to get out of there. They know for a fact that without a mobility scooter, she isn't going more than a 1/100th of a mile, right? So they walk after her slowly and they're like, ma'am, please, let's make this easier for all of us. Please just come back here, ma'am. So yeah, they're walking behind her and she's like, you'll never catch up with me. It's have you ever seen those SpongeBob episodes where Plankton is running away and because he's 1/4 of an inch tall, he just isn't moving at all because he's so small, right? Mr. Krabs just walks over to him. Basically the same situation. They're basically walking next to her, they're power walking beside her as she's frantically sprinting away, right? And they're like, ma'am, come on now. Ma'am, please make this job easier for all of us. And just admit, just admit you're done, right? Just come on, come over. And she's like, no, never. They're like, all right, we didn't want to do this. So one of them goes in front of her. The other one goes behind her. It's kind of to block her off. The one behind her gets the handcuffs out. You might be thinking, handcuffs on a Karen? That's crazy. Karens should be above the law. They should be able to assault anyone that they want because they're Karens. No. Look, bro, even if you're a Karen, that doesn't mean you're allowed to assault people. And at the end of the day, she didn't just assault the cashier. She also assaulted the police officer. They had all the rights to do so, bro. Let's be honest here. They were not in the wrong on this one. Yeah, so sure enough, Karen in handcuffs is basically pushed to the front of the room. Or not pushed to the front, or led to the front of the room. Passes by the manager and screams at the manager, you owe me a, what insert item, right, that she wanted to buy. I don't know, a hat. I think it was a little more substantial than a hat, but you owe me the item and you would have been able to get away with just having 30% off, but you legally owe it to me. And at this point, I don't know, the manager's like, what? I legally owe it to you? And the officers are like, don't worry, sir. Go back to your job. Everyone here, you're free to go. You can go back to what you're doing. And the thing was, there was an entire crowd watching the whole thing because it wasn't the Karen was the only individual in the store when they had to lock it down for her behavior. There was plenty of other people. So many people were just watching the whole thing go down, right? They were just watching the Karen wail on people and then get completely freaking owned, which was pretty satisfying, right? So everyone watches, and dude, the whole audience, not the audience, but the crowd watching basically erupts into applause as the Karen is walked out. And the Karen is yelling at them you should be on my side. I fight for the consumer. I fight for you. I am just an old lady who wanted to use 30% off, so I was doing what I thought was right. And the manager's like, so attempting to steal like the item and then assaulting us? Yeah. And she's like, well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad. And then that she's like, she keeps on yelling or whatever as she's being escorted out by the police officers. The moral of the story is, don't be a Karen, bro.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it.
Today we get a story time of a Karen who smacks the teacher for failing her son. Yeah, some people, sometimes Karens ask to talk to the manager. Sometimes Karens will stomp their feet and get mad. But in this case, the Karen actually attacked the freaking teacher because her son didn't do any of the work. Let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Jay. And anyways, in Jay's class, there's a kid who we're going to call the spoiled kid. And the spoiled kid is your stereotypical spoiled rich kid. Everything anything he could have wanted had been given to him. And, everything about him, his entire personality was the fact that he's loaded or his parents are loaded, let's just be specific. And just for example, he would, whenever he got a new something, so he got the new Gucci shoes or something like that, he would come into class and he would show off to everyone how he got the new what or got the new what, the whatever, right? And also it would just be little things like that, such as in class one day, I was like, oh, what did you guys do over vacation? And the spoiled kid went to the Mykonos Islands, which if you don't know, it's a really popular tourist location, but it's also a really expensive one. And you can go it costs a lot of money to go up there, right? I've never been, but it looks pretty cool. Maybe one day. But anyways, maybe if he just said, oh, I went to Mykonos and kind of left it at that, no one would really care. Or at least it would be fine. I wouldn't call him a spoiled kid if he literally just responded to the teacher's question as anyone would respond. But he went on to be like, I went to Mykonos and I went there for an entire week and I flew over there in a private jet and I stayed in a 5-star hotel and I went on a shopping spree and spent $2,000 on designer clothes and et cetera, right? So this spoiled kid was, this kid was just a spoiled kid, right? And he also had a massive Karen mom. And this mom was literally notorious. She was known as being the biggest Karen ever, even before this story in which she smacks the teacher for failing her son, right? She was known as the biggest Karen ever, even before this. For example, this all had a couple months ago, in the very beginning of school, it was parents were allowed to come in to see their kids or whatever. And the Karen immediately rolls up in super expensive car or whatever. And she parks in the back. And there was parking in the front and parking in the back. And when it's finally the time is the day is over, kids are let out, they're all walking out with their parents. And this is when Jay, the subscriber, and his mom overhear yelling. And they look around and they see the Karen, the spoiled kid's mom, screaming about, my car has been stolen. My car is worth $100,000 and it's been stolen. Which one of you peasants stole my car? And the truth was she just forgot that she parked it in the back instead of parking it in the front. And it was kind of embarrassing for everyone else but her. I really don't think that Karen cared because she was able to tell everyone that she drove a $100,000 car and you need to know it, right? So, this mom was already known as a Karen and this kid was already known as a spoiled kid. So let's jump ahead to the actual story. So Jay is in class, and this spoiled kid is failing this class. He's not doing anything. So this kid was basically failing this class. Every day he would not every day he'd show up. Every day then he showed up. He showed up a third of the time, which in college, skipping your class, you can actually still do really well. And I know kids that get A's in their class and never show up. They only show up the days of tests and quizzes or whatever. Because the truth is, in college, sometimes it's honestly worth, I'm going to be honest, and maybe this advice will be taken the wrong way by some people, so
understand your own levels, but sometimes teachers will try and explain subjects in an hour that you could have learned in a 20-minute YouTube video, and going to the class just doesn't make sense. You know, sometimes teachers are really good at their subject matter, but they're just not good at teaching. And whatever, I don't think I'd be that good at teaching. But this kid never showed up to class, and the times that he did, he was always on his phone. He never paid a single bit of attention. And whenever it was like the teacher was like, okay, hand in your homework, the kid would always be like, sorry, I'll get it to you later. Basically, the kid handed in 0 homework assignments. Also, when the test came around, this kid very clearly did poorly. Jay, the subscriber, doesn't know the result of every single test that this kid did, but he saw one of the results, and the kid literally got like a 28%. Like, I think he only got 28% because he wrote his name down on the piece of paper. I don't really, that's probably the only reason. I don't think he got any of the other points. So one day, Jay needed to ask the teacher a question. And it was one of those questions that was more personalized, so he just knew that the teacher would have appreciated it if he asked it after class. And also Jay, who just likes a little bit of privacy, even though it wasn't a very private situation, decided that he was going to ask a question to the teacher after the class. So he decides to wait after class. And he tells the teacher, hey, I have a question for you after class. And the teacher's like, okay, cool. So he asked the question, and the teacher, before class period ended, also asked Jay to stay, to be like, hey, Jay, can you stay after class for a second? Jay kind of rolls his eyes or whatever. And not Jay, sorry, the spoiled kid. He asked the spoiled kid to stay after class, and the spoiled kid kind of rolls his eyes. He's like, whatever, dude. But Jay asks his question, the teacher answers it, and then Jay goes back to the back of the classroom so he can pick up his backpack, put that thing all together, and leave to go to his next class. So while he's doing that, he overhears the conversation that the spoiled kid and the teacher are having. The teacher basically explains to the spoiled kid, look, I've never failed a student before. I really only like giving out A's and B's, but there's no way that I cannot not fail you right now. If what's going on right now continues, I'm sorry, but it's very likely that you'll fail this class. And the spoiled kid kind of perks up a little bit, because while the spoiled kid put 0 effort in, he was kind of expecting to get C's or whatever. And the spoiled kid's like, what? Is that because you don't like me? Is that because you don't appreciate my lifestyle? And the teacher's like, what? No, it's very clearly defined. The class attendance is 30%, homework is 30%, test, quizzes, and other is the other 20%. I really can't, or 40%. I didn't, okay, those probably don't add up. I didn't even think about it. Just make those add up. I don't have that part written down. I made that up off the top of my head. So don't be like, oh, computer science major, can't even add numbers together. Shut up. Anyways, the teacher basically explains that even being super generous in the departments, saying he got 100% attendance when he showed up a third of the time, or giving him extra credit or whatever, he's not even close to passing the class. So the teacher basically says, look, if you show up to every class, or basically every class, I'll allow 1 or 2 mistakes, right? If you basically show up to every class, and you pay attention, and it looks like you're paying attention, I will make sure that you pass, even if the numbers don't add up. But if things continue as they are, it's unlikely that you'll pass. So normally, bro, in my opinion, if I was given this opportunity as the spoiled kid, basically the teacher's saying, you don't even need to try. You just need to show up. You need to do the bare minimum, and I will let you pass my class. That's a golden opportunity. That is such a good opportunity that the teacher's giving this kid. This kid he has the craziest reaction ever. Because the kid looks offended and looks at the teacher and is like, I'm not playing into your games. I'm not falling for that. I'm out of here, man. And the kid storms out of the class. Real quick, subscribe if you're new and you like story videos. Comment spoiled down below, or comment Karen. I'm giving you 2 options for the secret word of the day. I'll try and heart as many of those comments as I can. Obviously, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, and let's get back and do it. So anyways, the teacher is kind of taken a little bit back, because he did just offer this kid a pretty nice opportunity. In fact, Jay's low-key,
If I just had to show up and do nothing and I got like a C guaranteed, I don't know, man, it'd be tempting. But anyways, the next day comes around. And the next day is where all the action really comes in. Because Jay sits in class and the spoiled kid is nowhere to be seen. However, this is not out of the blue. And especially after the spoiled kid like stormed out of class at the very end when he's talking to the teacher, he could understand that the spoiled kid was probably like quote unquote protesting the class or something really stupid. That would make sense to the spoiled kid simply because he's a spoiled kid. So anyways, right, eventually that is not the case. The spoiled kid, in fact, does show up to class. However, the spoiled kid does not show up to class alone because the teacher is in the middle of teaching when the door slams open. Normally when you're late to class, you're trying to be as like sneaky, not sneaky, that has a bit of connotations. You're trying to be as quiet and discreet and kind of just respectful when you enter in late. I know, because, I can be late every once in a while. It happens, right? I come in, I'm a little bit late. Teacher's in the middle of lecture. What I'll do, I'll quietly open the door. I'll swiftly, but not drawing attention to me swiftly, make my way to the back of the classroom, sit down, and just pretend like nothing happened. And that's how you're supposed to do it, right? If you're late, it's how you're supposed to do it. Spoiled kid slams the door open. And so he slams it so intensely that the teacher and the class could not ignore him. He basically got all their attention like that. So everyone turns around to look at the spoiled kid. And it's not just the spoiled kid in the door. It is the spoiled kid and his notoriously Karen mom. We're just going to call her the Karen and him the spoiled kid, just for clarification. So the spoiled kid doesn't even say a word for the next interaction. The Karen immediately bursts into yelling. She's like, "You're failing my son because you're prejudiced against him because he's rich." And the teacher is just looking at her blankly, just like, bruh, what? Like, dude, I don't know what you're saying or how you came to such a ridiculous conclusion, is basically his train of thought right now, which makes sense because how did one come to such a conclusion like this? But anyways, the Karen goes on and is like, "I know that the only reason you're failing my son is because you're rich phobic." And someone in the class, in the way back to class, like let out like a very clear laugh. And like the Karen turned around and gave him a death stare, but then turned back to the teacher. And the teacher's like, "Ma'am," at this point, the teacher really kind of gave up any form of privacy he was going to give the spoiled kid because he's being confronted in front of the entire class. So he goes on to say, "Ma'am, like no disrespect, but I'm not," or like not even no disrespect. He doesn't say that. He says, "Ma'am, I'm not being quote unquote rich phobic," whatever that's supposed to mean. "Your son is failing the class because he never shows up and attendance is 30% of the grade. He has never handed in a single homework assignment, which is 30% of the grade. And I don't even want to tell you his quiz and test average, which is 40% of the grade. There's a reason why he's failing, and he's not failing because I'm quote-unquote rich phobic. That's ridiculous." And the Karen completely ignores it. It's like, "My son is telling me that you hate him because, when you question him on his lifestyle and he, answers your questions, that you got this look on your face of being super jealous because you want to live his life because he's so cool like that." Which is like, did the Karen literally just say, "My son is so cool like that, that's why you hate him and I'm failing him"? Like, you really got to question what's going on in this Karen's head. Does she have an internal monologue? Does she actually think? Or is she literally just like Look, is the spoiled kid controlling his mom with a little antenna, right? Is it like when Plankton jumped into SpongeBob's head and replaced his brain with like Plankton's device or whatever? Because it kind of sounds like this by the way that the Karen is acting. The teacher reiterates, "No, that is not why. Your son is failing the class because he is, not doing what is necessary to pass the class." The teacher just says it point blank, nice and easy, spells it out for the Karen. One would believe that it would be like understood. But no, the Karen actually starts to get up in the teacher's face and is like, I'm going to give you to the count of 3 to change his grade from an F to an A plus or else. Which first of all, a billion things. First of all, you're going to give him the count of 3. Dude, I swear, the only time where you can count down and it does anything is if you're saying that to like a 4-year-old. If you tell a 4-year-old you're going to count to 3 and they have to go to bed, then they'll go to bed. If you tell a teacher you're going to count to 3 to change your son's grade from an F to an A plus because you're rich phobic AF, then no, that's not going to work. This is a fully grown adult, bro. Second of all, what do you mean or else? I mean, we're about to see what you meant by or else, but at the same time, it's like, bro, what is the Karen gonna do over here? So the teacher looks at her and says, I'm not changing the grade. I'm standing firmly on that. I've already told your son that if he simply attends class, I will consider not failing him. The teacher has to be a little bit careful by the way he says it, because he said it a bit more generously to the spoiled kid in private, but in public, he can't be like, oh yeah, if you just show up, I'll give you a C. Because then kids would just be like, just showing up, right? And the Karen says 3. She literally starts the countdown. And the teacher says, look, I don't want any trouble, but I'm not changing my mind. And I've already said this, but your son, if he just attended class, would at least get it, he would not be failing. 2. The Karen responds with 2. The teacher's like, I'm not changing my mind. And at this point, Jay and all the other kids in the class started to realize that something was about to go down. They could kind of feel the fight energy in the air. They could feel a little spark that was kind of starting to create itself, right? They felt that something was coming. 1. The Karen, sorry. I just said Karen in the middle of like a burp. So that's why I came out like, Karen. If you want to clip that, go ahead. But there's actually a clip feature on YouTube, which is kind of cool. You'll probably get more views in this video, which would be funny. But anyways, right, so sure enough, the Karen is looking at him. And the teacher is staring her down. And everybody in the class is just looking. And they're waiting, and they just want to see what is about to happen. And the Karen looks at the teacher and is like, I warned you. Boom! Smacks him across the face. It's dead silent before the smack. So when the Karen actually makes contact with the teacher, you can hear that smack and it reverberates around the room, right? It is the loudest smack of the century. Everyone's mouths drop. Everyone's slack-jawed. Some girl gasps. Some guy has his hand on his mouth, right? It's like, oh my God, this Karen mom legitimately just smacked our teacher across the face simply because, he doesn't... Well, why did she do that? Simply because she's claiming that he's rich phobic for failing her son for never showing up, never handing in the homework, and never doing well on the tests. Like, bro. So at this point, the teacher recovers because he's so shocked by the fact that he was just smacked across the face by this Karen mom, because he was not seeing that coming, right? And he immediately picks up his phone. He's like, yeah, I need you guys to come down here. We got a situation. Puts his phone down. It wasn't super clear who he called, but it turns out that he called like school security. All of the teachers were supposed to have them on speed dial just in case there was an emergency or a student got out of hand or for some reason they were needed, just in case there was a rogue Karen who entered the school who was trying to smack people who she claimed were quote-unquote rich phobic. That's a very common situation apparently, and they were trained accordingly. So the teacher's like, ma'am, like, you just hit me in front of all like the students. And she's like, yeah, and if you don't change my son's grade from an F to an A plus, there's going to be more of that coming at you. And also, you're rich phobic, and I can't stand for that. And she turns to the kid. She's like, we won't stand for any phobia, including rich phobia. Chant with me now. And all the kids are just looking at her blankly. Like, bro, you did not just try and latch onto onto the broad social movement for justice to slap on, oh yeah, guys, by the way, rich phobia, man. I hate it. Guys, I'm with you. Now, help me get my son an A+ because he never shows up. Okay, guys? Like, bro was really trying to latch onto that. And so Jay the subscriber looks at the spoiled kid. Because he was thinking, no way the spoiled kid isn't super embarrassed right now. Like, sure, he definitely wanted his mom to come and, like, get him the A+, but he was probably thinking that his mom was not about to smack the teacher in front of everyone and then try and get the entire class to be on his side. He was probably thinking, oh, my mom will just come in here and be super chill or something. Just, like, get it done easily. And, like, Jay was like, oh, this kid must be super embarrassed. But no! This kid almost seemed super happy that his mom was making a big deal out of it. He almost seemed, like, excited that she smacked the teacher across the face for no good reason. So sure enough, the teacher is like, no, I'm not going to give you another A. I'm not going to give your son an A. I don't care if you're going to hit me more times. I will not bend my morals to comply to your tyranny. He's being a little dramatic. But I also understand he's in a very unusual, to say the least, situation that we don't all find ourselves in. Or at least I hope, that we don't find ourselves in, right? So sure enough, the Karen is like, okay, well, you asked for it. I'm going to count down to 3 again, and you already know what's up. So this time, the teacher was more in a fighting stance. He wasn't about to drop kick the Karen, which would be pretty hilarious, and I would be down to see it. But he was probably going to try and dodge or avoid or gently block or whatever, and the Karen's like, 3! And that's when the door slams open. And these 2 big security guards grab the Karen by both of her arms, and she's screaming, assault! These men are assaulting me! Somebody help! Help me! The security guards are like, we're neutralizing a threat, and the threat is you. And they literally drag her out by the arms, bro. And she is screaming and thrashing. She's like, I'm being assaulted, and that rich phobic teacher isn't doing anything about it. Cancel him! Destroy him! She gets dragged out, the door clicks behind her. And the spoiled kid left with his mom being dragged out. The spoiled kid was not about to sit down in class after that just happened. And yeah, the spoiled kid never changed his attitude, so he ended up failing the class, which it was like the first time a kid had failed a class at this school, at this high school, in the longest time. Not saying every kid was an academic weapon or anything, but at the end of the day, the kids at least showed up, and the teachers were generous enough to be like, okay, you're showing up, you'll at least get a C. Like, I know you're failing the test, but you're doing your best, man. So yeah, moral of the story is, guys, if the morals aren't clear,
Click
I
on the
don't know
video
what
on
to say.
screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it. Do it. In today's insane story time, this Karen ruins her own son's wedding. Yes, this Karen couldn't let anything not go her way, so she literally ruins her own son's wedding on his very special day. This is an insane story, so strap in, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. Anyway, so we're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Aiden. So anyways, Aiden was in his late 20s, and he met this girl who we're going to call Caroline, right? And they got along really well. However, Aiden had a very complicated, to say the least, relationship with his mother as, I don't know, just like growing up, it was always like a little tense or whatever. And his mom was admittedly a Karen, right? Definitely base definition of a Karen. So anyways, this was another example of her being a big Karen because she was like, just disapproving of Caroline for really no good reason. Like, it wasn't like Caroline was, not doing anything and super unmotivated or really mean or had some kind of legitimate reason why the mom would be a little bit, defensive. I think as a parent, you should kind of chill out when it comes to telling your kids who they should marry. But I can at least understand if, your child is going to marry someone that you see a bajillion red flags and you know that they're just young, dumb, and in love and, you don't want them to make life-changing decisions, especially when you get married. Officially, it's 50% of your income. It's a big deal to get married. However, there was literally nothing wrong with Caroline. She was, the most normal girl ever, dude. But for some reason, the subscriber's Karen's mom, just would never let go of the fact that she's like, oh, you can't marry that girl. You can't marry that girl.
you can't marry that girl again and again and again and again. It was getting kind of annoying. So yeah, anyways, eventually, Aiden does propose to this girl. It's a whole thing or whatever. So Aiden's mom and dad are separate. They separated. Aiden's dad is like, hey, yo, bro, I can't take this Karen anymore, dude. I'm out of here. So he was really happy. Caroline's parents were really happy. Aiden's cousins, his aunt, uncle, everyone else in both of their families was super excited because they knew how good they were for each other, except one individual. And I bet you guys can get I bet you guys can guess which individual was not so happy of Aiden and Caroline getting married. If you guessed the Karen, then you are, yes, correct. Yeah, so anyways, right, Aiden eventually, he doesn't tell his mom right away because he's like, oh, God, I already know how she's going to react to this. I already know how she's going to act. I know she's going to be like, I don't give you permission, and as your mom, I'm not going to let you do this. You're going to ruin your life, I'm gonna whatever, right, a lot of stuff. And here's the thing. Aiden's a grown freaking man, and it wasn't like his mom was like funding his entire life too. He was 100% independent, but he just kind of believed that, you know, family is like one of the only, like if everything in the world gets reduced like down to nothing, like you lose all your friends, a lot of times like family may or may not be the only thing you have left. So Aiden really put in the effort to stay in touch with everybody in his family, his mom, his dad, everyone, even if some family members, aka the mom, was a little bit of a Karen all the time. So eventually he calls up his mom. He's like, hey, Mom, I want to let you know that I proposed to Caroline. And she's like, you need to undo that right now. You're not allowed to get married to that woman. I forbid it. And like, bro, I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to do here. Like, your son is completely independent. You really think he's just not going to marry this girl that he's basically madly in love with and just it would be a great marriage, right? Just because you forbid it? What are you going to do? Cut the funding, which he has none of? Like, what are you going to do? Like, show up to his house with a crowbar? Like, bro, what are you trying to do right now? So, yeah, I don't really know what the Karen is thinking, but at this point, Aiden kind of saw that coming, so he's like, yeah, okay, I'll talk to you later, Mom, bye, and hangs up the phone. Because he just kind of needed to tell, right? He just needed to tell her and stuff like that or whatever. Yeah, so anyways, almost right away, everyone else in the family started to plan the wedding because I don't know if you guys know, but weddings are a really big deal and at least it takes a lot of planning. Like even if you want to have a really low-key wedding and just invite a few people, there's still so much money in planning and headache that goes into it. So thankfully, everyone else in the family was trying to help out. That is, of course, the Karen mother was not. Apparently, or at least Aiden's dad told Aiden that his Karen mom was trying to, at every single point, throw like some kind of problem in, like try and make things more difficult, try and literally sabotage the wedding from ever happening. However, the wedding does happen. So when it's time to give out invitations, Aiden calls up his mom individually. He's like, look, I know you aren't approving of this wedding. I know you're not approving of the marriage, but at the end of the day, you're my mom. So I am extending an invitation for you to come. And she's like, oh, what day is it? She knew what day it was, but she still said that anyways. He's like, August 28th. And she's like, I don't know if I can make that. I am very busy. And Aiden, in the back of his head, is like, oh, please don't show up, bro. Like, I'm not trying to have you here anyways. Like, it was literally a courtesy, dude. Like, I'm extending that as a courtesy. I really don't want you here, man. Like, do what you want to do. Don't show up if you don't want to show up. That's 100% cool with me. But she was really just bluffing, trying to just show him that, like, oh, she doesn't approve of it, all that kind of stuff, right? So, yeah, sure enough, she does show up. So let's skip ahead to the wedding. Many months later, it is eventually time for the wedding. Things are going really well. And if you don't know, in some weddings, there is something called a rehearsal dinner, and that is the dinner you have before the actual wedding. So you get all the guests together, whatever, lots of fun. And the rehearsal dinner was happening at this place that was near where the wedding was happening. So anyways, Aiden, Caroline, everyone else in the family, they show up. It's really great mood. It's just like the vibes are immaculate, bro. I mean, two people are getting married. They're in love, man. Life is good. Well, the vibes were good, I should say. I gotta clarify that the vibes did not stay good forever. Because sure enough, the Karen makes her presence very clear. So she walks in and she kind of has this aura, this kind of energy of like disapproval, anger, I'm upset, all that kind of stuff, right? And it completely clashed with everyone else's jolly, nice, like love is in the air, this is so exciting type energy. We're about to have a good dinner, good food, whatever. It totally clashed with that, bro. So yeah, sure enough, the Karen just sits down and is like, meh, 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 meh. And they're all just kind of like looking at her. And she just starts sighing really loud. And Aiden looks over and like, he kind of placed like his mom kind of far down, like away from him and Caroline. And I mean, she was maybe upset about that, but bro, I really don't blame him. I mean, his mom is low-key a loose cannon. Like, I don't know. If she's trying to, like, sabotage the wedding, which she already was, and spoiler, she really tries and basically does, that, he doesn't want her to sit right next to him and his bride. Like, I don't know. But she apparently was huffing, puffing, grunting, being really annoying, right? Eventually, like, the menus are served. So basically, a waiter comes around and gives everyone a menu. And the Karen looks over the menu, and she starts making a big fuss, like, nothing on here appeals to me. This all looks terrible. I don't want any of this. Just saying like super Karen stuff. And bro, it was like a really good menu with a lot of options. Normally at weddings, like, dude, I'm going to be honest, you get one option, you get like one or two options, like meat option or vegetarian option, or you eat nothing and have a glass of water. Those are literally your options, dude. But this one was like 4 to 5 different meals on there. It really covered the range. There's a vegetarian option, chicken, steak, pasta. And it wasn't like super exotic where maybe it would make sense that the Karen was like not used to that kind of stuff. It was very just basic food, bro. It was very just standard, but it was really good. It was just like standard food that was very simple, something that everyone would like. However, it's just done really well. Yeah. So anyways, Aiden kind of notices this and is just like, oh God. He kind of turns to Caroline like, yep, we're going to have to deal with a lot of this. Like, just be prepared. Like, this is really annoying, but whatever. And so sure enough, the Karen is having a whole fuss when the waiter comes over. She demands like a really complex order, a really complicated, difficult order or something like that. And, the waiter's like, okay, we can try and do that, but, our kitchen isn't really prepared because the kitchen was prepared to serve these types of meals for the wedding. However, they still went out of their way to make sure that everyone was satisfied, that everyone was happy. So sure enough, Karen got what she wanted, bro. Like the Karen got what she wanted. Whether that was best for everyone or not, it doesn't really matter in the Karen's world, bro. As long as she's winning, then that's all that matters. So yeah, the rest of the dinner was okay. I mean, actually, I should say the dinner was great. It was just the fact that the Karen mom was there that was completely like, I don't know, like not ruining everything, but really just putting a damper. Thankfully, though, Aiden and Caroline, they were sitting on like the opposite side of a really, 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 really long table. So they didn't have to deal with most of the Karen's shenanigans, nonsense, etc., right? They didn't have to deal with most of that, which is really nice. And yeah, shenanigans. I'm not going to make that the secret word. Don't worry. I don't even think I can spell that. But anyways, right, so the Karen is sitting at the end of the table. Table is the secret word of the day. So if you made it this far into the video, comment table down below. And also, while you're in the comment section, there's a pinned comment, and the first link is to Spotify. We have a Spotify account, or I have a Spotify account, where you can listen to these stories as podcasts. Make sure you go ahead and follow it. And if you're listening right now on Spotify, rate the podcast 5 stars. I would really appreciate it. And also, in the pinned comment is a link to another channel I have. Please subscribe. I think you will enjoy it too. Yeah, but anyways, the rest of the night was pretty good. Things really go down and things get really bad on the actual day of the wedding. That's where the Karen actually somewhat successfully ruins the wedding, at least for a little bit. So yeah, the night before, once again, basically, Aiden's dad is the GOAT. He's letting him know everything that's going wrong. And Aiden's dad lets Aiden know, hey, by the way, son, your mom is not having a good time. And Aiden responds, well, I mean, how much can I do about that? He basically was like, look, this is a great wedding. This is a beautiful wedding. There is nothing that I can do because I know the only reason why she is angry and mad, and not just because she's a Karen, but because she doesn't like my wife. And I'm not going to change that. There's nothing that's going to change that's going to make her happy. And Aiden's dad's like, dude, I get it. I totally agree. I just want to let you know that she's been talking to all the guests, and this, like, I just want to let you, I don't know. She's like talking about how she's going to have to put an end to this, and that she's going to make sure her son doesn't make a choice that he will regret and pay for. And he's like, I don't know what that means, but your mom is very dramatic, and she loves you very much, I guess. And they both kind of laughed after that. And he's like, look, son, but on the serious, bro, or the serious, son, I don't know what she's going to do. So maybe just be prepared that when the priest says, does anyone have any reasons why they should not be wed? speak now or forever hold your peace, that we might get a little chatter from her. And let me just say, if that was it, then this wouldn't even really be that good of a story. I mean, it would have been a pretty good story. But let me just say that she does something much worse than that. She doesn't just, like, that would make a little bit of sense, but what she does is actually insane. So Aiden's like, okay, whatever, I'm prepared for this. Like, I'm aware that this is something that might happen. Like, I'll just deal with it if it happens, right? So sure enough, Aiden is just, I don't know, he's ready. He's ready for it. He's ready for anything. He's getting prepared. And yeah, anyways, let's go to the day of the wedding itself. So the day of the wedding itself, it's like they wake up pretty early, because I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but I don't know, when I'm really nervous / excited, because like being nervous and excited is very similar emotion actually. But when I'm really nervous or excited for something, I just can't sleep the night before. Like or not even I can't sleep, but I just get up really early. Like whenever I have a massive exam and I'm worried about it, it doesn't matter if I get 6 hours, 10 hours, or 1 hour of sleep, I will wake up super early. I can't really sleep like late that much, which is good on major exam days. But so anyways, Aiden and his wife are up right away. Yeah, but anyways, right, so the day of, they get there, they're ready, and okay, so this was a pretty big event, meaning that they had a lot of people coming. And so just for future reference for later on in the story, I want to let you know that they hired a security guard, just for precaution's sake. They found one that wasn't crazy expensive. A lot of family members were really cool, and they were contributing to the budget. So they had a little bit of money to spend, and they thought, okay, so many people here. We don't know what could happen. Just for the sake of it, let's get a security guard. Boy, did that help them out later, but you're going to have to sit around and see why. So anyways, right, yeah, Aiden, Caroline, super excited, super nervous. They separate to go like get ready, because I don't think you're supposed to see each other before you walk the aisles after a certain point. And Aiden is there, and he's kind of like chilling with the other, like with the best man and the other guys there. A lot of his high school friends, college buddies, work buddies, all those type of people, right? And that's when he hears a knock on the door. But it's not a normal knock. Like a normal person would knock, like knock, knock, knock. This was boom, 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 boom. Like, it's just like, whoa, okay, bro, chill out, bro. So they open the door, and it is the Karen mom. And she's like, Aiden, I'm telling you, this woman has a ball. She needs some. No, don't do it, Aiden. No, I am your mother. You must listen to me. You must listen to me now. You are a little boy, and I know more than you. You are not going to marry this woman if it's the last thing I do. I will not stop at anything. I'm giving you one more chance, Aiden. One more chance, or I will stop it myself. And Aiden's like, whoa. Chill the frick out, bro. Take a chill pill. Mom, like, come on. Chill out. Like, we've been talking about this forever, and I'm not changing my mind, especially not 30 minutes before I'm walking out there to get married. Look, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to invite you for this reason alone, but I did because you're my mother, and that means a lot to me alone. Please don't ruin this special day for me. And the Karen almost seems like she agreed, or not agreed, but it almost seems like she was like not going to do anything, because she kind of calms down. She's like, okay, well, I respect that decision. And she walks out. So normally most people would think, oh, well, bet. Like, she actually is going to, like, chill out for once. But no. No. Yeah, so let's go to the actual, like, the wedding ceremony itself. So everyone was in the pews, except for the Karen. She was missing. And when Aiden was up there, waiting for, his wife to be walked down the aisle by her dad, Aiden was kind of surveying the crowd, looking at the audience, just seeing who was there, and really kind of just looking where, I don't know, really just looking where his mom is, because he's like, oh God, what's she going to do? And she was missing. And Aiden was both worried, confused. He had a lot of, part of him was like, okay, thank God she maybe left knowing that, maybe she didn't want to witness me marry this girl, and she just wanted to dip, which he was like, that's a little sad, I guess. Like, I feel like I want my mom here at my own wedding ceremony. But the other part of him was like a little worried, because he's like, well, she's not here, meaning I can't keep an eye on her, so she could be up to literally anything. And truth was, she was up to something. That was pretty bad, dude. Yeah, so eventually, Aiden sees, his wife being walked down the aisle. It's the whole ceremony. They get to the point where the priest is like, all right, say your vows. And they go through and they say your vows. And it's beautiful. It's great. The atmosphere is lovely. Everyone in the crowd is like tearing up. They're like, oh my God, my little Aiden is all grown up now. All that kind of stuff, right? It's great. So that's when the priest says, if anyone has any reason why these two should not get together or be married or be wed or whatever, speak up now. And Aiden just had a huge knot in his stomach. Because when he said that, he remembered exactly what his dad said, which was, if your mom, hey son, like your mom's like not super happy about this, and you know how she is, and if she's going to say something, it's probably going to be at that point. So Aiden kind of just braces for impact for like a barrage of screaming coming from the audience. However, he's chilling, bro. He doesn't hear anything. And that's when the priest is like, all right, like you may now kiss the bride. Aiden should have been a bit more prepared because this is where things all went wrong. So that is when the Karen, kind of like, think of like a church, because that's where this wedding was held, right? Think about at the very end of the church, like how there's big doors, which is how you will walk into it. So Aiden hears as these two big doors burst open, and he looks up and he sees his Karen mom standing at the very end, and with the doors are opened up, and in her hand is a big old fire extinguisher, and she screams, "Not today!" And she starts running, well, kind of like waddle jumping or whatever. I mean, she's kind of a chungus Karen, but anyways, she screams, "Not today!" And she starts letting go spraying the fire extinguisher all over the crowd as she's sprinting, whatever, chungus Karen's sprinting type, right? As she's running, waddling down the aisle, spraying it everywhere, on everyone. And eventually, after spraying everyone, she gets to the bride and groom and shows them no mercy and sprays them all with the fire extinguisher. And that's when the security guard actually comes in clutch. He was a little late to the party for sure, but that's when the security guard basically tackles the Karen and drags her out of there. So yeah, they're at a situation now that everybody is covered in fire extinguisher and the whole thing is basically ruined. So they have to think really quickly. So almost immediately, Aiden gets the microphone and says, "Hey everyone, so that's my mom." And they all kind of laugh a little nervously, a little awkwardly, whatever, right? So they all laugh about it, and he says, "Look, we're just going to finish this wedding ceremony. Some people don't want us to be together, but we're not going to let that keep us apart, right?" And he looks at, Caroline, she kind of smiles at him. And it's one of those situations where it's like, it doesn't have to be perfect, and being sprayed by a fire extinguisher by a crazy Karen is definitely not the definition of perfect in everyone's book. But sometimes imperfect stuff is just how it is. And, kind of how it was actually quite a beautiful moment after that. It was almost as if the Karen made the ceremony even more touching because it could have been totally ruined at that point. They could have just been like, screw this or whatever. We'll just do it later. But no, they finished up the wedding ceremony and they walked down the aisle covered in just fire extinguisher, and everyone burst out in applause and whatever. And they're walking out of the church covered in fire extinguisher, and there's some passerby people that were looking like, "Hey, bro, what? It's a little sus over there," because everyone's covered in white foam. It's like, "Oh, bro, what?" And eventually they get into their car. The whole thing's ruined, right? A fire extinguisher everywhere. But they couldn't care less, because they're about to start a new chapter of their life.